So do you know about that? No. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. It's okay. I don't know that my mic, is my mic working?
Can you hear it out there?
Is it? Yeah.
Try it again.
Okay, and tonight we'll start with call to order. Roll call, and then we'll do pledge.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem LeVar,
Present.
Councilmember Alfieri,
Here.
Councilmember Keys,
Here.
Councilmember Nakai,
Here.
Councilmember Neal,
Here.
and Councilmember Zulawaga.
Present.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America, we love you.
All right, on to ceremonies, presentations, and appointments. And we are at 3A, appointments to the Board of Adjustments and Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. And Suzanne's going to present that for us.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This evening, we will start with the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee. We have an application that was received from Matthew Hayes, interested in being a member of this committee. We have quite a few openings still on this committee. I think there's about 7 or 8 positions available, and there's no particular criteria. He would be okay on this committee. I don't know him personally, so I don't know if he's in the audience. But he is. So if you want to ask him any questions or anything.
Okay, council, have you all had time to review his application? All right, and is there any comments or questions? Would you like Matt to come up to the podium?
Yes, please do.
Good evening, council.
Good evening. Hello.
Can we hear your elevator pitch, please?
Sure. I've been a resident of Woodland Park for just over 5 years now. Moved here in 2016. I haven't been very involved in the community. Most of my business activities since I've moved here have been in Colorado Springs. So most community involvement that I've had has been in that city. I'm spending much more time here now than I had previously, and I would like to seek out opportunities to give back to the community that I've called home for 5 years now.
Excellent.
I noticed you've been overseas. You've done some mission work overseas.
Yes, that's correct.
How do you find the contrast, and what makes you want to plug in that sort of servant heart into our community?
Which contrast are you referring to?
Well, it looks to me like it says International Missions Ukraine.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing that you've given into communities in the past. And so,
I see.
yeah.
I think it's very different. The needs of some of the underserved communities, especially in outcast populations in countries like Ukraine, have a very different set of needs, obviously, than a more well-developed community like Woodland Park. Their primary concerns are having their basic needs met, and serving in that mission field. That's the occupation that activities we're involved in. Here, I think we have a beautiful city that has been very well developed, and the things that I see as being needs for the community here are more related to preserving the beauty of the town, and paving the way for modernity to allow the community to develop as the city grows, has more and more complex needs, and to make sure that things such as the beautification of the city and the activities that are undertaken by the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful community are some of the more important needs that I see needing to be met at this time.
Thank you. Great answer. Appreciate it.
Hey, Matthew, I'm Rusty Neal. I'm sorry.
It's
I have a
fine.
question. I think you present yourself very well, very professionally when you're standing at the mic. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
I just have a question because I've looked at your work experience. What was the sequence? Is it the operations? Which one was first? Operations manager, then director of operations?
That's correct.
And then,
I'm presently the managing partner of Aspen Grove Strategic.
thank you.
Council, anything further? Okay, well, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to appoint Matt to the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful.
And since I questioned him, I'll second your motion.
All right.
Thank you. Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Zulawaga.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, next we have appointment to the Board of Adjustment. As council knows, Ms. Nakai has been appointed to the City Council. Therefore, her seat on the BOA became vacant. The two incumbents from the Board of Adjustment have applied for that position. It is Nick Abercrombie, who we received the application from that you got in the packet,
Mhm.
and then Miss Christina Chapman, whose application you received earlier this week. Mr. Abercrombie's here with us this evening in the audience, and Ms. Chapman is here with us via Zoom.
Great. Well, council, do you have you had time to review their applications, read their resumes? Okay. Do you have any questions or comments for either or both?
Would you give us a moment to just review Ms. Chapman's?
Sure. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and bring her in on Zoom, just in case. We're going to. Okay, Ms. Chapman, you're on Zoom and you'll be able to participate as soon as council has questions or comments for you. And
Well, thank you.
Mr. Abercrombie's here in the audience, so he may participate at the podium.
Great.
Robert's just reading it. He had not seen it before.
Oh, okay. Okay, so council, do you have questions for the applicants? Would you like them to come up to the podium or participate via Zoom? Yeah, okay, we'll start with Mr. Abercrombie since he's here in person.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Council, questions?
So Nick, we appointed you not too long ago. I remember your most entertaining interview that we had with you. And that was, how many months ago was that?
I believe that was April, I think. So I think April-ish. So do some math.
We were still
4 months
doing
ago.
Zoom calls, if I recall.
I was here in
was here.
person. I think
Yeah.
there was quite a few Zoom folks on the line.
Okay, very good. Okay. So now you're looking to take on the seat as full-time.
Yes.
So what qualifies you?
So I think, going back to being an alternate. I've enjoyed that thoroughly. So we've had one request for variance come into play. I was at that, didn't get to sit at the dais, but was able to review the packet and see how the operations went. And I had one, we had one working session, which I did get to participate in fully, which I think was really informative. Got to give me a really good sense of, I don't want to say not just what the Board of Adjustments does, because I knew what the Board of Adjustments does, but sort of how they operate, kind of the ins and outs. And especially during the working session, there was a lot of talk of, hey, we've had some challenging cases in the past, let's say in the past 12 months or so. And I think there's a really strong desire of, hey, how can we learn from that, incorporate that into the rules of procedure, those kind of things, and go forward better, right? I really like the idea of sort of consistent improvement. I kind of heard and I read some of the details of some of those challenging cases, particularly the one around Tamarack. Interesting, really good lesson into how the town operates and the ins and outs. You know, and well, that's, I don't know, contention is not fun. I think it would be naive for us to think that, hey, there's never going to be contentious cases that come before the board again. So that I found really interesting in trying to make that improvement and go forward. I think the case that we saw in June, I don't want to say anything as a slam dunk. It was really well presented. I saw my opinions, I think, very well reflected within the board, which made me feel both good and capable of like, hey, I'm asking questions that make a lot of sense. Slightly unnecessary because all of my questions as an alternate got asked, but it did give me a sense of confidence that I was prepared to do that, and I think I was looking at things with the right critical eyes.
Thank you. So my last comment, or I'd like you to comment on, is where you say the three most pressing issues. And you say providing the public with consistent and transparent application of the waiver process. Can you expand on that, what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. I think there's two things. The way I look at it, right, is when someone comes in for a waiver, right, for a variance, I think I used the word waiver, work talk, but when someone comes in for a variance, it's important to be consistent and transparent. What I mean by that is, hey, if person A, we'll just say John and Susie, come in, right, we need to treat John and Susie fairly. Now, every property is different. Every variance is going to be different. And so there's no, there's almost no case where we're going to say, hey, Susie asked for a variance to the setback. John asked for a variance to the setback. The properties look identical, easy peasy, right? But they're going to be close. They're going to be similar aspects. And we want to apply the code, the rules of procedure. We want to apply the guidelines for variances, right? What creates an extenuating circumstance? If we say in Susie's case that, hey, her property, if I use the example from June, it's a much smaller lot. It was zoned probably 100 years ago. It's a corner property, so it's got double the setbacks and variances, or double the setbacks. And we say, okay, cool, that's an extenuating circumstance, and we can grant you a variance. And we look at John and we say, hey, John, boy, John's got a corner lot. Now, maybe it's a different neighborhood, maybe it's a different thing, but we really have to work through that process of, okay, well, do we apply the same standard here? And I think from the transparent, that's sort of the consistency piece. From the transparency piece, look, all the board's deliberations are public. And one of the things I learned, and I would just, not to call out anybody personally, I don't know if Lou's here. I think Lou in particular, the chairperson of the board, does an excellent job of this, of really deliberating out loud, right? Here's what I'm thinking. Here's why I'm thinking it. I think in the previous case we had, I think it would have been easy to say, well, this kind of makes sense. The property works, the setbacks, et cetera. I can see where the staff recommendation, but Lou really made a point to go off and say, okay, well, let's just ask the question, does this smaller lot and corner property in and of itself constitute a unique circumstance? And how are we applying those pieces? What does the staff recommend? And really working through that as a group out loud, transparently, gives the public a sense of confidence that, we're not going behind closed doors. We're not favoring Susie's application over John's application because, hey, we all have lunch with Susie, right? We got to make sure that those things don't come up. And that's why that transparency is really important. And that's what I mean by that. So I think the board's doing a good job. I think that's awfully important to continue. So that was a little long answer, but did that get to the heart of the question?
You did. You got to the heart of the question. Thank
Thanks.
Council, anything further? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Abercrombie, and we're
Thanks.
gonna go ahead and let Ms. Chapman speak. Council, do you have questions for Ms. Chapman?
Is she currently on the line
She
now?
is on.
I am.
Ready to go.
Hi, Christina. I just want to confirm my memory. Because I did plead a case before the Board of Adjustments, and it's not just my memory, but it's to assure the citizens watching, you were not on the Board of Adjustments as a voting member at the time I pled my case. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you would not have any problem with me casting a vote? You would not think I would be biased in any shape or way, shape, or form, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, council, further questions?
Ms. Chapman, this is Kelly Case. I'd just like to know how long you've served as an alternate?
Oh, goodness. I was trying to remember back when Mr. Abercrombie was talking, when I joined, I believe fall or winter of last year.
Okay,
Poss-
that's
we were
close enough.
we were still doing, we had had an in-person meeting, but it was limited, I believe. So I'm not positive, but it's a while back.
Thank you.
Councilmember Zulawaga, do you want to ask her the same question you asked Mr. Abercrombie?
Suzanne, would you reflect on what my questions were that I asked Mr. Abercrombie?
Just the first one. I think it's just, why does she think she's the best?
Oh, I didn't
Candidate.
see her priorities.
Yeah, here's
Yeah,
your
just ask her priority.
Okay. Here we go. Your priorities. Your priorities, if you talk on those, please, are zoning and compliance, downtown areas, and safety. Is that what you were asking me to ask? Yeah.
All right. Zoning and compliance, I thought was very, very important because having read thoroughly our old comprehensive plan and participated in creating the new one, I would like to see and know that what our community wants is what happens, and what is in our comprehensive plan matches with what our rules and ordinances of our city are in the way of zoning, and to ensure that things don't just pop up in places where they don't make sense or don't fit in with our community. That's why zoning is super important to me. Downtown areas is a really contentious thing for our city, but I do think that we really need to focus not all, but a lot of our time and energy on ensuring that we do what's best for the downtown area and do what's right so that we can keep that going and grow it. And then safety, of course, is always going to be important. I would have put that number one, but our police department and everyone else does such a great job, but it is still important. So it was in my top 3. Did that answer what everyone was looking for?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? No? Suzanne, how would you like to, do you have a little paper first to fill out, a ballot, or you want to just want to make a motion for a particular candidate, or?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is Lou online?
He is.
Did you want to see if he wanted to say anything or?
He does have his hand up.
He does have his hand up. Sure, we can let Lou. Lou, I'm gonna let you in to talk. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go.
I think both Christina and Nick would make excellent regular members on the Board of Adjustment. I've got confidence in both of them. I really would enjoy working with either, and I think they would bring their own unique viewpoints. Neither one is shy about talking about things. I think either one would be an asset to the board. So in that regard, I'm not any help to you. That you've got excellent choices to look at, and I'll punt and leave it up to you guys.
Thank you. Well, at least we have 2 excellent choices. That's
We do.
better than none.
We do.
so.
I've worked with both of them and they're both excellent.
Good. Councilmember
I
Case?
guess the consolation is one of them still gets to be the alternate.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for a motion, is that what we're going to do? Make a motion for one or t'other of them?
Sure.
Yeah,
that's fine.
okay, so I'll start with, I'll make a motion to approve Nick Abercrombie as a permanent on the Board of Adjustments.
I'll second.
Case,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
No,
Zulawaga,
Yes,
Alfieri.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
I was going to vote for Christina.
Mr. Abercrombie has been appointed.
Okay.
start somewhere.
Thank you both for participating and being on the board and your care for this community. We really appreciate it. And it's nice to have two educated, caring people and to have two positive people, apply for this position. And sorry, you both couldn't win, but you're both still on the board. So we appreciate your service. So thank you.
With your permission, Mayor, may I administer the oath of office to both of them?
Sure, absolutely.
Can I have both of you come up front here? Raise your right hand.
Yeah, for Robbie.
And repeat after me. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear. Sorry. Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Colorado,
and of the state of Colorado,
the charter and ordinances
the charter and ordinances
of the city of Woodland Park,
of the city of Woodland Park,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
of permanent member of Board of Adjustment,
of permanent member of Board of Adjustment
of member of Keith Woodland Park people,
Of members of People Are Beautiful.
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I'll have you both sign your oaths of office here. And official.
And Nick, while you're busy signing that, my no vote was I was preserving it for Christina because she'd been waiting longer. You're both qualified.
I think that's wonderful. I look forward to working with Christina and the rest of the team.
I think you'll be a great asset.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and now we're off to 3B, Vino and Notes event announcement. And I think Mr. Myers is here to present.
Good evening, council and community. My name is Keith Meyer. I'm the executive director for Habitat for Humanity here in Teller County. And we were having our 13th annual Vino and Notes. I call it 13th annual because we're not counting last year. So it's our 13th annual Vino and Notes event. It's our main fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. We have every year. We are really up in our game this year on what we're doing. And I'll talk about the Vino side first. It's going to be the largest wine festival we've ever had. We have over 58 vendors coming, about 20 wineries. We have 6 food trucks. We're taking the entire part where the farmer's market typically is. That's going to be the wine fest. And that's where it's been in the past. But like I said, we have over 58 vendors this year, a ton of wineries and 6 food trucks that'll be there. We doing a couple of other things with Vino. We have a VIP ticket and then a regular ticket. And the VIP ticket, I'll talk about here in a minute, but it gives you some additional stuff for the whole event. On the music side, the note side, we are making it a real jazz festival out of this. It starts at noon. It'll go to about 9 o'clock at night. We have 3 major bands coming. The first one is Tidal Breeze. Second one is Monument Jazz Trio, and they're not a trio. They got like 17 members. And the third one is Tiny Barge and the Big Chill. So those of you who have been around for a while, know Tiny Barge. He used to play over Mardi Gras every year. He is excited. He loves Woodland Park. He can't wait to do this. Tidal Breeze will play from noon to about 2:30. Monument Jazz Trio will play from about 2:30 to 4:30. And at 4:30-ish, Tiny will play from 4:30 till it's over. We're taking the entire city park. We're building a stage on the north pavilion on the north side of the pond. So the whole music area would be that entire grassy area to the north on the park. So you're more than welcome to come, bring your chairs, your blankets, whatever, and stake your space. And we'll have music all day from noon to 8:30, 9 o'clock. The wine festival will be over at 6. We also are going to have a couple of beer vendors this year. So those few people that don't like to drink wine, there's going to be beer along with all the food trucks and stuff that they sell. The other thing is the VIP tickets. But VIP tickets cost a little bit more, but it gets you in at 11 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock. And from 11 to 12, one of the wineries is going to give a seminar in the main pavilion about wine and wine tasting and all the stuff you want everyone to know about wine. So it gets you in. Also, we're taking the basketball court area and we're doing a concierge service there. So if you want to buy cases of wine and you're a VIP, we'll store the wine for you throughout the day. And then you can come at the end of the day and we'll load it up for you. Also, you get not only the seminar and the storage and the concierge service, we're going to stake out an area on the grass in front of the stage just for the VIP. So you'll have preferred seating in the music area too. So it's nothing like we've ever done before. It's going to be a really big event. The wine festival part is much bigger than it's ever been. And the music's going to go all day. It's not just background music. These are 3 really good bands. And they're going to be playing all day.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Council?
Yeah, am I right in understanding it's happening this Saturday, right?
In 2 days.
Okay, very good.
Yep. So I already saw the toilets out there. I think the dumpster and the generators and the stage gets built tomorrow. So there's been a lot of stuff on tomorrow. It starts, like I said, the VIP starts at 11 o'clock. That's a seminar from 11 to 12, but then general mission opens at 12.
Are your seminars accredited? Sorry, that's a joke from earlier tonight.
How much wine you drink? So it's we're hoping to have a lot of people there. It's kind of interesting that the sponsorships this year have really boosted up. I think people are excited to get back and doing stuff like this. The wineries are excited to come. We actually have over 20 wineries, but we got a couple that are hovering because they're having a hard time staffing. So if they can't get the staff, we're not going to be able to come. But we should have about 20 wineries or so, which is more than we've ever had in the past. And like I say, we have 58 total vendors with 6 food trucks and the wineries and other things going on. Plus, you got the Martin Earth Starksville and some other things going on in town. So it's going to be a real exciting day.
And one final question, are you going to have Teller Cab, Uber, and Lyft nearby?
That's, you can call those people. Once you leave, we are parking at the high school, and we do have the school buses shuttling people, at least to parking areas. Because we hope it gets, get a lot of people. We sold a ton of tickets in the last couple of weeks. I think people saw the weather, it's supposed to be perfect this weekend. And the ticket sales have just really been soaring the last week or two. So should be a good time.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Keith.
Yep.
We appreciate
Hope
it.
to see you all there.
Look forward to
Very
it. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is 3C, and it'll be the teen court presentation and oath of office. And Bev Hodges is presenting for us.
Council. My name is Beverly Hodges. My name's Beverly Hodges, and I work for the Woodland Park Police Department. And through the department, we have a program called Teen Court. We established in 1994. There are approximately 1,800 teen courts throughout the U.S. and on 5 continents. So most of you may be familiar with it, but teen court is a youth court for young defenders. It's a sentencing forum for first-time offenders who have been referred by the municipal court and desire a 6-month deferred prosecution. So when the teen has received a citation for either possession of marijuana, alcohol, paraphernalia, assaults, harassment, curfew, trespassing, anything that's a misdemeanor, and they are a first-time offender, they can be offered this deferred sentence. And they go through the teen court program. It takes about 6 months. Some of the sentencing, it's mandatory that they serve between 2 and 4 jury duties, which means that they come back to teen court and serve on the jury. And then they decide the sentence on other defendants. So it's a revolving door. If they do not complete teen court, if they say they quit showing up for jury duty, or they don't turn in an essay, anything in a timely manner, then I would refer them back to the original court and they would be charged with the sentence. They do need to plead guilty. So teen court does not assess whether they are guilty or innocent. They do that and they plead guilty in front of the judge, and therefore teen court is just for sentencing. Teen court is a court of their peers. So all of the court roles, such as prosecutor, defense attorney, bailiff, and the jury, all consist of teens. A police officer presides over the courtroom as a judge. So I'd like to welcome tonight. I have 5 new volunteers. Teen court this year, because of COVID, it's almost like starting from the ground up again, with new defendants, new volunteers, new judge, everything. So can we welcome the volunteers?
Absolutely. Do you want to introduce them?
Sure, I can. We have Elijah Wellis, Eden Savage, Keely Ray, Natalie Douglas, and Jordan McClaslin.
Mayor and council, to let the teenagers know how important this job is for them, that they take as a volunteer. We swear them in as actual officers of the court. So Ms. Hodges has asked me to administer the oath of office to these individuals this evening.
Excellent.
Before you do, can I ask you, Beverly?
Yes.
We spoke earlier and you talked about when they successfully complete the teen court.
Yes.
I mean, my mind got stuck on the revolving door, and I'm hoping we're not talking about revolving back in through the courts. Can you talk about how, when they successfully complete, what benefit that is to their life?
Yes, I will clarify that. So when they complete the program, I send a compliance report to the municipal judge, and she will put a no conviction on their record. So that's the gift about teen court. You can get into trouble one time and it can be, you can have a clean slate. If you do get into trouble again, then that goes away and you are charged with the first offense plus whatever the second offense would be.
And those then follow them on into adult life, correct?
Pardon?
If they have those convictions, they follow them into
Yes.
their adult life.
Yes, it
Right,
would.
okay.
All right, and we also have some mayor's pins that we would like to give them for their
Oh, cool.
participation. And I
Great.
think this is probably an excellent experience for these juveniles to understand and see what happens and to keep themselves out of trouble, because they get to see their peers and what happens. So we're really glad that you participate in this. And I'm sure your peers are also, because it's a relief to come in front of you, I'm sure, rather than a judge and someone who's not their peers. So, right.
So I'd like to call all of you up here, and I'd like you to face the council as you take your oath of office. But then I know the parents want to take pictures, so I will have them turn around after their oath of office has been administered. You can each raise your right hand, and I need you to state your name. We'll start with you. I, Jordan Castle. I, Keely Ray. I, Natalie Douglas.
I, Elijah Von Willis.
Now I'll have you repeat after me. Do solemnly affirm. Do
solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Colorado,
and the state of Colorado,
the charter and ordinances
the charter and ordinances
of the city of Woodland Park,
of the city of Woodland Park,
and faithfully perform the duties
and faithfully perform the duties
of the office of teen court volunteer
of the office of teen court volunteer
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. 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 I think the mayor would like to present you with some pins. And then we'll do photo ops with Ms. Hodges and for the parents.
Better get down there and get in the pictures, Hillary.
Yes.
I know the mayor's.
We just learned that.
Oh, you're all right. Nobody told me that.
You guys, parents can come up closer if they'd like.
We're trying not to be intrusive.
No, you can
Better get out
as
there.
close as you want.
I told her to get out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly, for this. All right, moving on to 4, additions, deletions, have none, consent calendar. 5A. Oh,
We have item D,
We have
Ms.
item D,
An
yes.
agenda
Mayor
item.
Pro Tem
oh, D,
Labar.
that's right.
Yes.
I hand wrote it.
Auntie Labar.
I don't have the printed agenda, so. All
Yeah, that,
right, so D, and
D.
Mr. Lawson's going to present that for us.
so yes, so my apologies. Yeah, we had missed it on previous iterations of the agenda, but this was something that we presented, I think last time. We all met and I went through some of the high level information about the report. And if there were any additional questions at this time, I'll do my best to answer them, or if they're from non-general fund areas, might ask some of the directors as well.
Sure, council, questions, comments?
I do have
Okay.
one, Michael. I have a lot of little questions, but I'm going to come down to your office and ask the little stuff. I just want to confirm the way I interpret this. In 2 of the funds, the 410 and the 420 for expenditures year to date, there's 0. Now, this is all based on the first quarter. So the weather basically in these 2 funds prevented any expenditures. We should see a significant uptick next quarter.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of those in Q2 and Q3. Yeah. Good question. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Anything further?
It was added at the last minute, so I didn't take the time to go back and review it, so. But once again, I'll just ask you if I've got questions.
Okay. All right. Now we're on to 4. There's nothing. Number 5A, approval of July 15th regular city meeting minutes. We'll have Suzanne present that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This evening, we have the July 15th regular city council meeting minutes and the July 19th special meeting minutes for your consideration, as well as our legal services agreement with Wilson and Williams. And we can handle those both individually, so you can ask questions to whichever you'd like.
Sure.
So let's start with the minutes.
Council questions, comments? Nope. Okay.
We'll need a
Yep.
motion for the minutes.
I'll move. You Go ahead. You
I'll
go,
make a
girl.
motion to approve the July 15th regular city council meeting minutes and the July 19th special meeting minutes.
I'll-
second.
You guys are fun.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Zumbawaga,
Yes.
Gualtieri,
Yes.
Case.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously for the minutes. 5B is
I love
your approval of the legal services agreement between the city of Woodland Park and Wilson and Williams, and I think City Manager Lawson will present that.
It is on consent. Would you like a presentation?
Council, have you had time to review it?
Yes.
Does everyone feel comfortable with it?
Yes.
Any questions?
I heard in it that you give us 3 options, actually 4 options. Can you go over those, please? Sure. So as I saw it when I drafted this, you could do 3 things, maybe 4. You could appoint Wilson Williams as presented here and recommended by staff. We could do an RFP to select another private firm to have a contracted permanent city attorney. We could do a hiring process for an in-house city attorney as we had prior. Or you could just take more time and consider what you'd like to do is kind of the 4th sort of option.
Council, any comments? I see pontification.
Yeah. I like the 4th option. It wasn't one of your 3. I like the 4th. I'd like us to continue just to observe how it's going. I don't have the appetite for going out and doing an RFP. And I'd just like to see a little more how we're going down the road with Nina and Jeff right now. So unless there's some timing constraint that we have in our prior contract. No, okay.
So our prior contract still is effective if we don't do something this evening. I know there was a limit on time. Didn't we set a time frame in that or for making it permanent?
From my recollection, the very informal direction of the council at the time was to give it about 3 or 4 months to see how things were going.
Okay. And where are we in that time frame?
Because it was 6 months.
You know,
6
that's
months. Yeah.
Pardon me?
That'd be about 6 months.
Has it been? Okay.
That was early February. But who's counting?
Oh, we're
not right, February, yeah, early February.
Go ahead.
So I guess I would just suggest if we want to put a time frame on it to look at as we close budget, something like that. Make a decision or bring it back onto the calendar then. Well, when you say close budget, like budget adoption, is that? Yeah. Okay, so that
That's
will
like end of the year,
probably-
right?
That will probably be in the November, December-ish timeframe.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I can say, if you don't mind,
Not at all.
I can say that I'm not very comfortable with moving forward without some kind of agreement in place. And I think at the adoption of budget is too late because then we don't know what next year looks like because we don't have a contract to operate from. So I'm comfortable moving forward with the agreement. And I guess I could make that motion to approve the agreement and see how it flies.
May I interrupt just for one moment?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, I do have, and this is at your discretion, I do have a citizen signed up that would like to speak on this matter. We don't usually take public comment on
Right.
consent, so it's up to you, but I wanted to tell you that before you took your vote.
Well, we can go ahead and take it.
So we have Tanner Coy signed up to speak on this.
Okay.
issue.
So I'll withdraw that motion until we hear from the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, staff and citizens. Tanner Coy, 240 East Highway 24. Thank you for allowing me to comment. 15 years owning and operating small business in Woodland Park, 15 years as an employer has made me, like so many others, particularly sensitive to the nature and performance of those employed either directly or indirectly to serve the company and manage risks associated with operating an entity. And in public enterprise, I think we should all we all do have an interest in the nature and performance of those professionals. You're considering that very thing right now. And I'd like to raise some concern that first came up during the July 1st council meeting when contemplating Item 3B, appointments to the DDA board and request to adjourn to an executive session. Title 24, Article 6, Part 4 of the revised statutes discusses and authorizes open public meetings and executive sessions. Paragraph 4 authorizes those executive sessions, and its subsection F, Part 2 tells us that executive sessions are not allowed for discussions concerning the appointment of a person to fill the office of a member of the local public body. And your stated purpose on the record for that executive session was regarding the conflict of interest of potential DDA applicants. Those are applicants to the public body. It sure seems like an illegal executive session. And although I'm sure you can read through the statutes and find some technicalities to justify the lack of transparency for that discussion, that technical thin ice is not where we hope to see you. It is on the legal and ethical high ground where we hope to see you. And you certainly weren't there that evening. When questioned, is it wise to enter the executive session for that purpose? Councilmember Neal asked City Attorney Ms. Williams asked that question. The response was, it is appropriate. That is a reason for legal advice that you are able to, by the laws, it's one of the bases by which your meeting no longer, well, that part of the meeting is in the open meetings, you go into executive session, so you're legally permitted to do so. So when you say, is it good idea, that's more a lot different. Communities have different feelings about when it is and isn't appropriate for the public not to hear. I will say I won't opine on certain, maybe I'll explain some of it, but I wouldn't feel comfortable opining about this in public. And with my experience being what it is, I would say there's not much gray area in the law. How we feel about saying something in public is not the criteria for whether it's appropriate to adjourn to an executive session or not. And if that's the type of advice you're being given, you should question it. Following that executive session, you move directly into appointment of members without discussion, without applicants speaking, without public comment. In fact, public comment was expressly denied. And at one point, a council member asked about the requirements, the legal requirements for the appointment of those members, and whether a majority had to reside in or own property in the district. And your legal counsel said, quote, not seeing that in the statute or the bylaws, not seeing anything about that. Quote, I know there's nothing in the statute that says otherwise. When I was asked to answer that question, I had the floor. I'm a citizen, I'm a taxpayer, and I was asked to answer a question. I no sooner began than that legal counsel interrupted me, took the floor. It was quite rude when saying that no, there's nothing in the statute about that. It was not only inappropriate, it was wrong and misguided you. I think you need to be aware of that and see it for what it really is, a warning sign. I encourage you to go back and review that meeting and watch it for yourself. You have a duty to protect the city and the interests we all have in it. That's a very critical role that you're filling with this agreement. So I just wanted to raise those concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council, any further deliberation or comments before we move forward? In this case, you had something you withdrew.
Did you want to say something? Do you want to go? You do it.
No, I don't.
In regards to Robert's concern about giving it more time, forgive me, because I don't have the packet in front of me. What is the requirements to basically exit the contract?
The contract says it can be terminated by the city at any time.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Well,
Uh,
I have a comment.
Did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She asked me.
I didn't see that he had a
Forgive me,
comment.
Rusty.
Please.
Yeah, I just kind of want to state it for the record. When I came here, I was looking at the three courses of actions, including what the staff had recommended. I've listened to Mr. Zuluaga's fourth option. I've just listened to Mr. Coy's observation of what has been said. I would ask, it's kind of a prosecution without a defense. Do you have any thoughts that you would like to add? Because it may actually affect how I think I'm going to vote.
Only if you as council have any more further questions or concerns.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
So on that note, I would make a motion that council take more time to consider its options and continue with Wilson Williams as the interim attorney until either the second meeting in November.
I want to show and prove to the citizens of Woodland Park that I have an open mind and will listen to anybody. I'm going to second your motion.
Thank you. Nakai,
No.
Neil,
Yes.
Zuluaga,
Yes.
Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
No.
Labar.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-2. Excuse me, 4-2. So we will continue with interim services until the second meeting in November.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, public comment on items not on the agenda. I do know we have one person. Do we have any?
I have quite a few. yeah.
Okay,
I'll start with the individuals that are in the audience.
sure.
And the first public comment I have is Gail Linder. Asanga.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens, staff. I'm here, I'm Gail Wingard, I'm Woodland Park Main Street's Program Manager, and just wanted to give you a couple of items that's happening this weekend. You know that Vino Enos is happening. It's going to be a great event, but also there are other events happening through the downtown area. And one is the Critter Roundup, which is happening at Dinosaur Resource. The other is the Mountain Arts Festival, which is at the the Cultural Center. But then Woodland Park Main Street has been promoting the summer sidewalk sales. You will see these flyers around throughout the day or throughout the city. Trying to, once people are done with those special events, we want to get people to come downtown and support the local businesses as well. So we did this last year and it was fairly successful, and we wanted to do it this year because more people are out and about. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, but also Main Street will have their booths set up at Bergstrom Park at Tava Circle. And we'll be giving away free water to the pedestrians that want to stop by. We also have our 2021 Woodland Park. There it is. Our new ornament that we're selling for Christmas. So this is a fundraiser, and we packaged them up kind of so they're a gift for people and a thank you card inside. And they're $10. So we ordered 250 of them. So we have about 170 left to sell. So we'd love for people to come out and support our downtown businesses. or restaurants. Swing by, get some water, buy an ornament, and just support our local businesses this weekend. And along with all the other festivities that are happening, it's going to be a really busy Saturday and Sunday. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Anybody have any questions?
Council, sure.
Is the sidewalk sale both Saturday and Sunday?
No, it's just Saturday.
Oh, it's just Saturday. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and it'll start whenever the business opens to close.
It's like 8 or
So
something.
it's, yeah, it's up to the business.
Okay.
So,
And do you know the hours for Critter Roundup and Mountain Arts?
oh, that's a good question. I think the Mountain Arts is from like 9 to 5 on Saturday. I could be wrong. And could be the same time for the Mountain Arts and for the Critter Fest. It could be the same time frame.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. So, okay.
One last question. Are there admissions, a price of admission for any of the other events that you're announcing?
No,
today?
those are free. Those are a free family-oriented type activities. So many times they go to those and then they want something else to do. So that's why we were trying to promote the sidewalk sales, because people want to do something more than just one thing. And Vino and Notes is a paid event and it's a little bit more of an adult environment. So we're trying to do this for the families as well. So. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
I'm looking for Critter Roundup.
So maybe.
Sure.
Just pulling up the information, Mountain Arts Festival is 10 to 5 on Saturday. And Critter Rescue Roundup, that's Critter Fest, right? Is 9 to 3. So you're welcome.
Next, we have Mr. Don DeZellem signed up to speak.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council and citizens. I'm concerned, along with many citizens who I've spoken with, concerning the apparent lack of transparency this council has shown to the citizens over the last month in regarding appointments to the DDA board and the council. In both cases, there was no discussion concerning the candidates, qualifications, or questions for the candidates from the council in open meeting. Instead, any discussions were held out of the public eye and from the action of several council members without them involved. The citizens of Woodland Park deserve to hear council discussion about a candidate, hear their responses to questions posed, and hear why a candidate feels they deserve the position. We are currently 8 months into the Biden administration, and there are 2 agencies, the FTA or the ATF and the BLM, that are both still having their directors being vetted by Congress. Vetting that has brought about many questions to their qualifications and personal biases out to the public. We, the citizens of Woodland Park, have been denied this type of information by the lack of transparency by the council. Remember, the council represents the people, not the personal agendas of the council. I ask that in the future that the council be consistent and transparent with these decisions. And if those listening to my comments agree, please let the council members know by emailing or calling them with your concerns. We, the citizens, are watching, and perceptions are everything.
Thank you, Don.
Jerry Good.
Hi, Jerry Good. I'm a resident of Woodland Park. Listen, I know this is redundant and all, but I had a good friend request that I read this in public. And It's from Jan Wilson regarding her association with the DDA board.
Jerry, I apologize. I'm going to have to interrupt you. We actually don't allow readings at council unless the person who wrote it reads it.
Well, am I allowed to say something?
You are
Sure.
allowed to say something,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, at the time of Jan's appointment to the DDA board, she owned a building
Or
and.
Jerry, you're reading her letter.
No, I'm not.
Jan is welcome to participate by Zoom and read this. But
Yeah,
unfortunately,
well-
we don't let other people read other people's letters.
Well,
You can read his speech.
you know, it's, Jan deserves her,
Just read it,
her
man.
say.
They're not gonna stop you.
Michael.
Just read it.
It's,
Well,
Jerry,
I would just first like to say, we have already interrupted Jerry in a previous meeting out of respect for the fact that Jerry is not a articulate public speaker. I would like us to give him latitude to go ahead and say what he wants to say. We don't have to comment on it. We just have to listen.
Jerry, you are absolutely welcome to speak from your heart.
well, Jan has decided to move on. She still has an alteration business here in town. You know, she could kind of force the issue a little bit, but she's helping her daughter open up a business and out of state. And so she realizes that there probably isn't a good fit at this point. Jan has done so much for this community. I mean, in and out, she's been involved in just every facet of this community. And I would like for the public to know that we're going to miss her, the public to know that they need to reach out and say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. You did very well.
Jerry, I'd like to just echo what you're saying. I've known Jan a very long time. Jan has served in very many capacities in very many different service areas in our community. And I also would like to thank her for her service. And yes, she has given a lot of herself and her time. And for that, it is much appreciated.
Thank you.
Elijah Murphy.
Transparency. How many times have I watched Mayor Levy, Mayor Carr, and other mayors sit at the council and read letters from others from outside his chambers?
Yeah, it's something that's new in the council's policy and procedures.
Yes.
And as a council, you adopted that policy last year under Mayor Carr.
That's correct.
Okay.
With all due respect, we have not been following the policies and procedures that we have laid out for us. So we can't be selective. I liked what this young Nick fellow said about being consistent and being transparent. I think that's, you can't just pick, we're going to do it this way this time and not do it this time and then pull the rule card. That kind of is inconsistent and not fair to the public.
Mayor Pro Tem, I believe Mr. Zulog is part of this council, and I don't remember a time where, since that policy was passed, that we've read someone else's letter into the record. Thank you.
We haven't.
I'm referring to our policies and procedures in general.
Murph, please proceed.
Thank you for allowing me to reclaim my time. You know, it's very interesting that one of our founders once said, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate." Wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And then Daniel Webster also wrote, "There are men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they mean to govern. They promise to be good masters, but they do mean to be masters. In doing some research recently, I thought I'd go back and do some checking on some things, and it all started stemming from my conversation with an individual who writes for the paper. And he requested a bunch of emails. And I know that the back and forth was quite interesting. And he just asked for all the emails. So what was stopping him from getting the emails? Well, we need more information. We need more of this. We need more of that. So we know what you want. So we know how much more we can charge you. Resulted in this from a lack of transparency. Okay, really cute. In my research, I found out that retirees should not engage in personal or professional activities which are incompatible with the standards of conduct expected of active duty military personnel. Well, the rumor on the street is that things are going back to the way they were. This is not a new day. It's going back to the way it was, where moral obligations count, whether they're contracted or not, and whether dates are changed or not, and whether there is plans to profit from the TIF, or how we're going to deal with somebody's dysfunctionality. There's no transparency. Transparency is the freedom of speech. It's not the PC of me blowing smoke in the wrong places on anybody. I tell the truth. I speak the truth. And that's one of the things that is hardest for people to stand these days is the truth. You talk the truth and everybody gets mad. Oh my gosh, you weren't PC because you spoke the truth. My time is very important. And when I started hearing rumors on the street that certain council members might think that Arden Weatherford does in fact deserve that land for free against all constitutional barriers, I really began to rethink my position. Why am I offering up my hard work, my time, my effort to people who help with the dysfunctionality? At the end of the day. And yeah, it does talk about, it explicitly prohibits 2 votes of any one entity on the DDA council. However, so now I called a number of things. First off, I called that who would be appointed to the new DDA, who would be evicted from the DDA. And then I also predicted who the new council rep would be. Let's see, and then the next one will probably be George Jones' appointment to the DDA. And then I would predict that because they lost 1 vote, that one of those 2 members would be stepping down, even though their advice is most valuable. Because I honestly, all the indicators are that there might be a little conspiracy afoot. Just like there was before, when Steve Randolph was the mayor who sat on the DDA, wrote the rules of how the land would be given away. And who's the agent of record for Beer Garden Lane LLC? Oh, that's Steve Randolph. You know, folks, to paraphrase an old friend, Ray Charles can see what the hell's going on here. So with that in question, I really apologize to the board members who have worked very hard, those who have come about it honestly and decently without, doing wrong things in the past. I wish them well, because I'm going to tender my resignation to the DDA because I will not be involved with something of this nature. And one of the most embarrassing things in the world is when a fellow service member starts going down the wrong track. you're more than welcome to defend yourself. You'll have my resignation within 48 hours.
Thanks, Mark.
Tanner Coy.
Good evening again. I'm here to express concern now over the same thing you've heard from several others, but in a little different way. And I would like to refer back to the public record. It is my opinion that the city council is violating open meeting laws. It's pretty blatant at this point, and the citizens of Woodland Park need to be aware and take action. July 1st, I've already mentioned the illegal executive session. I challenge that. I think that you need to address it. You probably should apologize to the citizens of Woodland Park, not only for it, but for how proceeded from it. Not allowing the public to speak about who would represent them in public office is a slap in the face to the citizens. It's not the right thing to do. It's not the moral, ethical, or legal high ground. You're skirting on thin ice. Let's see here, July 15th meeting, item 3C, appointment of a council member. Going back to watch this recording, I believe that Ms. Labar, council member, mayor pro tem, Hillary Labar, gave us her admission that open meeting laws was violated. The appointment of a council member is pretty serious activity, right? That's an important position typically elected by citizens. They have a role in who sits up there. Ms. Nakai ran, was not elected. You guys decided that to save $20,000, you just, of public money, you would cut the public out of the decision entirely. You put this item on your agenda. It came up as a bit of a surprise to many of us. Had we known, I would have been here to tell you that myself and a handful of others would gladly pay $20,000 to save the citizens that financial burden while affording them the opportunity to cast their vote and elect their representatives. I, nor any others, were given the opportunity to make that offer. Ms. Labar told us on July 15th that in order to prevent that from occurring, just in case and just as a backup, council has spoken. Council is not one of you. Council is not two of you. Those are council members. When there were 5 of you, council was 3. And it is illegal for 3 of you to discuss and decide public affairs off the record. And yet she said, and I quote, council has spoken and agreed that we will appoint a council member this evening. Council has the right to appoint a member at any time, depending on situations, even just off the street. Folks, how's that for respecting public office and the citizen's role in deciding who fills those seats? Quote, Mayor Pro Tem Labar, quote, historically, we've taken applications for this position. It's a historic procedure that we have. It is not a legal procedure, so we don't have to take applications. We're allowed to just appoint someone should we desire to do that. So after speaking, we've made the decision that we have the desire to appoint someone to save the city the headache of a special election, just in case. And I quote, so this evening, we already have the person in mind. The way that we decided to do it was to go to the most current previous election and go to the person who had the second highest votes after Councilmember Alfieri. She had the highest votes and won the seat. The second person behind her was Catherine Nakai. So we have discussed and decided to appoint her. Mr. Zuluaga says, for the record, I have not been consulted in this and I'm troubled. He goes on to say no discussion was made on who would be selected and how, so you may have had private conversations wherein Mayor Pro Tem Labar turned to Mr. Zuluaga and said, I told you at the last council meeting. Mr. Zuluaga didn't recall that, but Councilmember Case did and said as much on the record. She recalled it. She recalled the Mayor Pro Tem telling another council member what was going to happen and how and why and who. But none of it's on the record. Well, that's three of you. That's three of you present for that discussion. She says she told him and she says she heard it all and was there. Guys, you're violating open meetings law. It's disgraceful. So much for transparency. It's hard to see when Mayor Pro Tem spit in your eye. City Clerk Leclerc. Pursuant to the Colorado Open Records Act 2472-201, I request that you make available for inspection and copying any public records reflecting the discussions and decisions Mayor Pro Tem Labar referred to during agenda item 3C at the July 15th regular council meeting. If you are not the custodian of records for this request, please forward this letter to the appropriate person or let me know which person has custody of the records. I request a waiver of all fees for searching or copying these records in that the disclosure of the requested information is in the public interest and will contribute significantly to the public's understanding of how the council operates and what is required of its council members. If there are any fees for searching or copying those records, please inform me if the cost will exceed $20. Please set a date and hour within 3 working days following receipt of this letter, at which time the records will be made available for inspection. If access to these records will take longer, please cite the extenuating circumstances and let me know when I should expect copies or the ability to inspect the records that are requested. I ask that records available in electronic format be saved to a thumb drive and that I be notified by email at tannercoy@gmail.com. If you deny any portion or all of this request, please provide me with a written explanation of the reasons for your denial, including a citation to each specific statutory exemption you feel justifies the refusal to release the information, and notify me of the appeal procedures available to me under the law. If you conclude that portions of the records I request are exempt from disclosure, please release the remainder of such records for inspection and copying, redacting only the portion or portions that you claim are exempt. You can contact me with any questions about my request. Thank you for your time. And while we're at it, because I have claimed your executive session on July 1st may be illegal, I request that you retain that recording and that it not be deleted at the 90-day mark.
Next, I believe it's Michael Dalton. It just says Dalton. I'm assuming that's you.
You know what's up?
I thought it was underground.
I was gonna say, my name is Michael, the Underground Dalton.
Thank you.
As on your last ballot. And for the record, you can retain this in recording. The last 2 gentlemen who spoke don't even live in the city limits of Woodland Park. But I do. My name is Michael Dalton. I've lived here, according to Facebook's records, almost 15 years, which surprised me. And I'm really concerned about the safety of Woodland Park. I give a shit about whatever they said. That's simple politics if you're listening online. I'm concerned about the safety of Woodland Park. They're gonna do all the politics. By the way, nobody's been cut off. And I don't know if y'all still give them 5 minutes, but I'm gonna try to stay under 5 minutes. The safety of Woodland Park. is an issue. The access to our city officials is not. It took me less than 2 minutes to get a meeting with our city manager. By the way, this is the best looking city council I've seen since I've been here. I'm just saying. But it only took me about 2 minutes to get a meeting with our city manager this week. And when I was done with that meeting, I was ready to sue the city and sue the police station. Our press has been full of how much corruption has been in our police station. I'm not gonna sit here and gloat, but I will say that I told you so. Because it's on the record, whether it's on your record or my record, it's on the record. I told you our police station was corrupt. There is still corruption within our police station. I met with our city manager about it. I played him a recording where a police officer, from what I could see, took it upon herself to act outside the direction of our city and harass city people. Within a few minutes, I was contacted by other city businesses that this police officer has harassed. I was a particular one who was harassed by this city official, and your city manager agreed. I don't know if he knew he was being recorded, but anybody who talks to me knows they're being recorded. And he said it right out in front of me. We hired a chief of police that has been fired or left the last 2 appointments he's had under suspicion of something, whether it was official or wasn't official. When he left Lone Tree and when he left Elizabeth, it was under suspicion. I talked to a board member and a council member who said the police chief threatened him. And that was just by Google search. We all know the politics of Woodland Park are corrupt. I hope that's on the record, by the way, because this whole meeting from actual business owners who I don't even like. I hate Tanner Coy. I hate Murph. I don't even like these guys. Jerry, I got nothing against you. But they weren't lying to you. They weren't lying. The things that they said, even though they're not citizens of Woodland Park, the things that they said weren't actually untrue. There are real issues in this town. There are real concerns in this town. I was on the phone with police officers today about rape in our parks. You can call the cops to check. So when I tell you that there are real concerns in our town and we're fighting over who got appointed here or who's there or whatever the hell, I asked this city council to be very careful who you put in those seats and not just flagrantly put men who have been kicked out of towns and towns and towns because I live here and my children live here. I can get as excited as I want. This is my stage as a citizen to address my public. So do not ask me to calm down when I speak of minors being raped in our parks.
Michael, look at me when you want to address that way.
Well, when she speaks to me.
I hear you.
This is a city, I don't even know your name. What's your name?
Michael,
She tells me to calm down. So when I ask you to actually take our city under consideration, quit fighting over this BS.
you're at.
Because I don't care what's happening in Washington. I don't care what's happening in Denver. I do not care what's happening in Colorado Springs. I care what's happening in Woodland Park, Colorado, where I call home. And for everybody listening online, go back and listen. I get a little passionate. I get a little excited. But again, this is our constitutional right to understand that we are passionate about our town. We love the place we call home. And when all of this little shadiness goes on, you forget about fixing the holes in the streets. You forget about policing the little things. You forget about the people who actually live here, not the sons of SBs that want to stand up here and they don't even live in this town. My daughter was born on Woodland Avenue in Woodland Park. She is a Woodland Park native. I happened to be at the restaurant of one of our great officials the night that they had the secret meeting. Damn if I knew about that secret meeting. That's the truth, for real. I've put my name in for council. I've gotten myself put on the ballot, signed by signatures of these people who live in this town. So for the secretness and the little slyness, the Woodland Park people are not stupid. I've had Catherine on my podcast. So do I think y'all made a great choice? Absolutely. By the way, I told y'all the best looking council we've had. I even like Rusty. Sometimes I like Robert. Listen, we have all kinds of craziness between us. We have new coming in and old coming, I like to say new money, old money. They're going to fight a little bit, but please don't screw up our town and keep it safe. And right now, I don't even feel safe in my own little town. I don't feel safe even from my own officials, because they will do whatever they want outside of whatever they've been directed. And I speak to you because who knows if she's a cop or not a cop, but she walks outside her direction and defames me with clients. And I stood before you. You didn't even know how to file a complaint with the cops. Although I will say, for the city manager's sake, he got me a complaint form within a couple of hours. That's more than I can say for the last city manager. And that's the truth. I love Woodland Park. I love it with all my heart. I love it with my family. I love this place. It's not the same as 15 years ago. It's not the same as 10 years ago. And it's not going to be the same in 10 years. But you guys have an opportunity to be a part of how that's shaped. but not even Googling who you're going to make the police chief. That's disappointing. My name is Michael Dalton. On the last ballot, it was Michael the Underground Dalton. They may never let me do that again, but I'll be on the ballot again. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you.
Okay, we have these two are online individuals, so I don't know if they're on. I have Mr. John Smolensky. Can you let us know if you're here this evening via Zoom? Okay, the next person signed up is Ms. Joyce Wick. Can you let us know if you're here on Zoom with us?
Joyce shared that she is not going to speak this evening.
Okay, thanks, Sally. We're done with public comment, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, we're moving on to 7, unfinished business. There is none. And number 8, ordinances on initial postings. We have 8A, Kip Wiley is going to present. Hope it's as lively as the last speaker.
Water is always the hottest topic. I'm sorry. At least for me. So, good evening, council. Before you tonight is ordinance 1401 on initial posting. And I would ask for council to entertain item 10C as well as resolution 878, as it is the contract for the purchase of the shares. So the reason we do an ordinance and resolution are the shares are considered both real and personal property. The real property is accepted by ordinance and personal property is the contract to purchase. The city has a great opportunity to purchase 0.6 Twin Lakes shares from David and Susan Jordan. The purchase price for the 0.6 shares is $26,100. These shares do not expand our capacity. They just ensure our future. Just want to make that clear. They will be funded out of the 510 fund, which has a healthy fund balance. This was not a budgeted item. Therefore, I just want to point that out to you. It will be a supplemental appropriation at the end of the year for this, but I assure you there are funds available for the purchase. Tonight, ordinance 1401 on initial posting and resolution 878 for the contract to purchase. You have seen in your packet, and I'm here to answer any questions, and I do recommend approval of each, and I just need a separate motion for each item.
Council, questions, comments? Or if everyone's comfortable, if we can get a motion.
Just before you get a motion, so the 26-1 is because it's a portion of a share. It's normally about 43.5 or something. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's pretty consistent and the market's pretty happy to pay the going rate. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I even met with Kip and asked in detail. So I was very comfortable, which is why I'll be very comfortable making the motion for you, Kip.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make the first motion to approve ordinance number 1401, series 2021, an ordinance approving the purchase of certain water shares and set the public hearing for August 19, 2021.
I'll second.
Thank you. Neil,
Yes.
Zuluaga,
Yes.
Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
And then the follow-up motion, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 878.
878.
878. I put my glasses on.
Sorry, I read the wrong one.
Series 2021, a resolution authorizing the purchase of water shares from certain sellers and appropriating cash from the enterprise fund for said purchase and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute and attest respectively the contracts with said sellers.
I'll second that as well.
Thank you. Zuluaga,
Yes.
Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to 8B. And this is to consider a first reading of an ordinance 1402. And I'd like to remind council this is quasi judicial. So you will stick to the topic and only the topic. And our presenter is Sally.
Yes, thank you. I will be filling in for City Planner Pellegrino this evening on first reading. Ordinance 1402 is vacating a lot line and the abutting public utilities, drainage, and private easement. It is requested by John Paul Schulman and Jill Marie Schulman, who own the property that is shown in the exhibit. And the hatched area on these two lots is the proposed vacated area. This is initial posting, so we ask that you approve this ordinance and set the public hearing for August 19th.
You know what, quickly, council, I just realized with the addresses, these are two pieces of property that I sold as the realtor. So this, I worked for the seller. These are the buyers. I did not work with or for the buyers in any way. And this has nothing to do with the sale of the property previously. So I wondered why they looked familiar. So I just want to put that out there and let people know it's has nothing to do with me now whatsoever, but I did sell those lots. So
Thank
I'm
you.
okay with it.
So questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1402, series 2021. Do I have to read the whole thing, Sally? Thank you.
No,
As
ma'am.
presented and set the public hearing for August 19th, 2021.
I'll second.
Alfieri,
Yes.
You don't have to read the whole thing. Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Zulawaga.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to 9A, approval of ordinance 1397. And Sally, once again.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We have been working on this ordinance for a number of months. So 1397 is to repeal the 100-day occupancy limitation for the definitions of recreational park trailers and recreational vehicles. This is a legislative item. It simply removes the language of 180-day occupancy out of the code. Planning Commission did hold a public hearing and recommends approval of this ordinance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions?
I do have some questions, Sally. When I listened to the Planning Commission's meeting on this, I had one interpretation of what as is. And the piece that I was concerned about is it's confusing to me whether the number of individual lots that are on long-term leases, that they would remain constant. In other words, X number of lots would stay, whatever they have right now. Even if the people move, that lot could be considered a long-term lot. And when I say the lot, I'm talking about an actual space that the RV parks. Those that are currently on, not under a long term, less than the 180 days, they would remain. So the number, the percentages of spaces would remain as is, consistent. When I read this, I thought it meant that that could even change. Can you please address that one, that topic?
Yes. So the number of spaces and how the operators use their spaces in the campground is purely up to them. They do not have long-term leases or short-term leases, as I understand it. In fact, it's a month-to-month kind of arrangement, as I understand it. So the status quo is basically each campground has certain number of spaces. They can be rented for a day, a week, a month, a year, however long they are planning on residing or staying at the campground. So because the language now in the code is very ambiguous in terms of whether it's short-term or intermittent or transient use, that is up to the operator to manage.
And that does change the taxes that are collected on the property, correct?
I am not the tax assessor.
I met with Colt and Mike. It will change the taxes collected. The number of people that stay 30 days or longer versus less than 30 days.
That's a sales tax.
Property
consequence.
taxes. The property taxes do change. And we'll have a
Not
class
that I'm aware of,
on that. Yes.
I
We'll
do
have a
know
whole.
that the sales tax does have that break.
There's a
lodging.
property tax calculations, and I did confirm it by meeting with Mike and with Colt. And I think we have a September 30th council meeting where they're going to come in and we're going to explain to the citizens how it works, because it's extremely complicated, very complicated. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments?
I do actually have a comment.
Sure.
I think this is one of the more challenging issues that's come before the city in a few years. I think we should actually return this to the Planning Commission to codify the status quo and provide a direction, or I'm sorry, a distinction between short-term and long-term camping within the city. I think this would maybe provide a path for the businesses to transition from the non-conforming to a conforming zone while considering the concerns of all citizens. That's just my 2 cents.
Robert? I always see
I was
quantification.
part of council that rushed to approve this change to the ordinance. And I deeply apologize to those who are affected by that. As I look at this, this is the most non-invasive way of resolving the issue. And I applaud your work, Sally, and the planning board's work to bring it to this level. I have asked the parties who were affected if this meets the need, does it calms the waters, puts things back to where they work for the city. And I see that it does. And the final comment I make is that I am very cautious for us to micromanage our community, particularly businesses that have been in operation for 30 years plus. And for us to think that we have a better way and that that's going to help our community, I'm very, very cautious about that. So I like it, and I'm happy to propose the approval of this if there's not any other discussion. But if there is, go ahead.
I'm just going to say one thing real quick is, Sally, thank you for your professionalism with this topic.
Yeah.
I know that it was an issue that was sort of near and dear to your heart. And I know that we swept the rug out from under you with it by taking it away again. And I appreciate how professional you've been about it. I do want to clarify for the citizens that this law that the rule that we're removing, the 180-day rule, was not an old rule. It was not in place this entire time that these parks have existed.
Right.
It was a new rule that was going to be put in place. And when some council members realized it wasn't in the best interest of the citizens and the businesses, they wanted to go back, re-look at this and potentially remove it. They determined they wanted to remove it. So I've had some comments about the concerns of what it would possibly do to our community. And I want the community to understand these parks that have been here for many, many, many years, probably longer than most of us have lived here, were not subject to this rule. So it doesn't change the integrity of the parks or our community. And I just wanted to make that clear because we've seen a lot of comment that it's going to ruin the community now that we're not putting this rule in place. The rule was never in place. And even when it was voted in, we had a moratorium on it, so it never was enacted. So I just want to make that clarification so that everyone understands it wasn't an old rule that we're suddenly taking away. It was a new rule that we were going to introduce. Other council decided to rehear it, and they chose to change their mind on it. So I just wanted that on the record because I don't want any confusion out there that this was some 30-year-old rule that we were suddenly changing, because that's the feedback I had been getting and it was incorrect. So I just wanted to make that clear. Ms. Case.
I just want to acknowledge that I actually voted for a no on this on the entire ordinance where
Right.
this was contained for the very reason that Robert just very well articulated very well. And I agree with you. So thank you. I thank you, Sally. I thank the Planning Commission for all your hard work. And as Hillary said, your professionalism. And I'm anxious to see this passed and put behind us and move on.
And before we vote, I know that there's some public comment, Sue, but is
Thank
there
you.
council that still has comment?
I was going to actually make one more
Okay.
comment. I'm not against the way that these businesses are currently run. I'm just looking at it from a long-term perspective. This is going to be more than likely a ongoing residency going forward. People seem to love to live in their RVs. I just think we should cover our bases down the road. And this just puts it back to where it was. And like I said, I have no problem with the current business owners. You just don't know what you're going to get when they sell.
Sure.
That's my biggest concern.
Sure. And it may be, with your fresh perspective, it may be a topic you could bring to agenda in a different light, perhaps. So,
And final comment from myself.
Sure.
Robert, you're absolutely correct. I was a part of the ones that put it in, not realizing what we had done. And Hillary, you're absolutely correct in giving us the history, and Kelly also. I want the citizens to know, I've been so torn on this one, going back and forth. But the Planning Commission had a formal meeting on it. The public could hear it. If you were very interested in the outcome and what was being recommended, the public had a chance to reach out to the council and let us know what you thought. I did not hear a single comment. So while I have some heartburn, I think there's a looseness in it that may not be intended. Because I have heard no rejections. I think it is a wise thing to approve what the Planning Commission has recommended to us. I thank Sally for your work, and I wish the business owners the best in the future as we go into the voting phase.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Yes, ma'am. We have Linda Martin is signed up for public comment.
Linda Martin, City of Woodland Park. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. With all due regard, Mr. Councilmember Neal, I was one who actually made it into the newspaper with disagreement on this. And I'm sure they recognize it. This should not move forward. It should not move forward because these parks have been zoned as such for over 50 years, according to this owner of this park. They have been opening these parks as long as people want to live in them for 50 years. Those are his exact words. Okay, so he's going against zoning regulation. Your own city attorney here in one of the city council meetings was adamant when she said at least 5 times in that meeting. Unfortunately, I am not as skilled with documenting and reviewing video and not as eloquent as Mr. Coy is. I wish he would speak on my behalf. But your own city council attorney was adamant. She said at least 5 times in a city planning commission meeting, that you cannot make these no end stay units, if you will, because these parks are not zoned residential. So just as we do any other developer, these folks, they have a beautiful park. I'm not taking that away from them. They have people who have lived in these parks for years. One lady said she's been there with her son for 7 years at one of the parks on Highway 67. I'm not taking that away from them. Allow them to stay there, but make them go through every other zoning change that any developer needs to go through in this town. Make them rezone to residential. You're protecting a business owner here. They don't have a lot of people who are staying in their parks long-term. So you may be affecting with your decision tonight 20 people. You're also affecting every single resident of this town. Because by passing this moratorium tonight, dropping the 180 days or whatever number you assign, you're opening this community up to the possibility of having unregulated trailer parks or RV parks coming into Woodland Park on at least 12 empty properties. That affects every citizen of Woodland Park, not just these existing parks. I have to go through zoning regulations. I have to go through getting a permit just to put up a fence for my dog that's not even touching property line. It's time for the business owners to also stand up and acknowledge that they're not in a residential area. It is not zoned residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Suzanne, any other?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I do see, Jeff, do you have any comments you'd like to provide?
I'd like to say that this has been a long and winding road here. I'm glad at least we're going to come to some conclusion tonight. And, that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any further comments, questions?
I would just like to say to Linda, your comments are duly noted.
Yes, and remember, anything we do here tonight can always be changed by a future council. Nothing's ever set in stone with us, so. That's true.
Yeah, and
Well-
Linda, I will apologize. I did not see your article when I said I did not see a single comment.
My name was in the paper and it was the right name this time. Except yours and my sister.
I apologize. I did not see it. I did-
It's very significant that you can see that there are people.
And that's why I have been torn. And I happen to know that the topic is going to go through another iteration in the future with the Planning Commission. I don't think we have the perfect answer yet. But for the time being, you'll see my vote. I'd like to put it to rest right now about this number being added, and then we address it in the future. But I do apologize for misstating if you did make a comment in the newspaper.
And I will certainly remember who votes how on this one. Yeah, because this has been my home, by the way. I've been here as long as they have, since 1986.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I accidentally referred to Miss Martin as Linda Evans because she has the dynasty haircut and name, so, and hair color. Okay, council, can I get a
Yeah,
motion,
I
please?
will move that we approve ordinance number 1397, series 2021 on repealing the 180-day occupancy limitation for the definitions of recreational park trailers and recreational vehicles. Luckily, that one was short, so read the whole thing.
I will second it.
Case,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
No.
Neil,
Yes.
Zulawaga,
Yes.
Alfieri.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to move on to, we've got 5 minutes before 9. Council, do you want to continue? Or do you want to take a break?
I'm good.
Okay,
Mr.
I'm
How long-
getting some
It
feedback to
depends how
take a
long it's
break.
going to take to do resolution 879. Oh, yeah. Yeah. let's take a
Yeah,
break.
we'll
Let's
take a
take
break. Okay, we'll do 10 minutes. Back at 9:05, please.
We're waiting for Suzanne.
The resolution concerning council meetings, was that today or yesterday? I'm trying to find I'm scrolling through the packet and it's not there.
Yeah.
Planning Commission meeting notes, then 879. Oh, yeah, it is. I apologize. It's right there. I do. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. Are we ready?
Countdown,
Everybody but Michael ready? Okay.
Michael.
We're
Oh,
gonna
Michael.
go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and proceed. Took a little longer than we said. We're gonna continue with 10A, which is approve resolution number 879. And I'm the presenter. So approve resolution number 879, series 2021 concerning remote council meetings and in connection therewith amending the Woodland Park Council Rules of Procedure to establish parameters for such participation. So council, do you have, I know Councilmember Neal, you had an amendment you would like to make, and then after that, we'll open it for discussion with council.
Yes, I thought it was a wonderful resolution. The conditions or the three that you had listed for being eligible for a remote participation were great. But I would like to offer up thoughts of adding a fourth one. I called it vacation as because we all take vacations and sometimes we can't control when our families want to take the vacation or when a special sessions. But I also wanted to have it limited, and I included the term once per year. So I throw that onto the table for discussion, please.
Sure. And just briefly, Councilmember Neal, would you mind just listing the other three for the record?
For the record, I'll read them. Personal illness or disability prevents participation in the meeting in person. The second one is family or other personal emergency. The third one, an unforeseeable event requires remote participation, such as declaration of a national, state, or local emergency covering the city.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments?
I actually had the same exact idea that Rusty did, or that Councilman Neal had, and then I had an additional one on a different.
Okay,
if you
sure.
want me to.
Sure.
So on the arranging for remote participation, I thought we could add an emergency notification option to contact the city clerk and the mayor via phone for sudden illness, family emergency, road closures due to mudslides, rock slides, fatal accidents, because those
Sure.
seem to be happening on a more regular basis.
Yeah, that's okay with me.
That's because we're getting rain.
I know. Well, not the fatal accident part, because people are driving too fast, but yes.
That's true.
Councilmember Nakai, are you talking about adding it to A, B, or creating a new C under there?
I was thinking of creating a new C.
Want to be able to contact the city clerk via phone.
The city clerk and the mayor via phone
And
or you, well, I mean, I think probably and or.
And/or is fine because you may be able to reach one,
Right,
but not the other.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is due to mudslides.
Road closures due to mudslides, fatal accidents, sudden illness, family emergency.
How about unforeseeable road closure?
Unforeseeable road closures, what? Three,
It's
three, arranging for remote participation.
on page
On
2.
page 2, yeah.
So I hear you, council wants all of those listed, or do you want unforeseen? I heard another council member say.
Instances.
Oh, unforeseen road closures would be probably sufficient, right?
Yeah.
I want to go back to Rusty's comments.
Yeah.
Sure.
Question on it.
I remember when Mayor Carr made the policies and procedures, he tried to schedule our schedule in such a way that we had a light or no council meeting specifically for vacations. And I would have to ask legal counsel or someone else to exactly articulate what that is. But here's my concern. If we put in the vacations, we've got 6 current members. If we have 6 different vacations, we've got 6 different inattention for us all being on the dais. And I think that, like with, you take the House or the Senate, they're in session certain time. And I like the fact that we have a time in our calendar where we know we're not going to be there, so that's not going to affect the people's business. So I think in respect for that, I would like us to defer back to what our policy is and where we don't have council scheduled. And I think it was at 2 different junctures in the calendar. Does anybody recall what that was?
We usually cancel the second meeting in December
2nd in December. yeah.
because it's always so close to Christmas.
Right.
Just to
Right.
accommodate travel and things like that.
Right.
We have canceled a meeting that fell, or we rescheduled a meeting once that fell on 4th of July, I believe,
Right.
so that we could attend. And I think it also interfered with staff being off for the holiday.
Right.
Um,
But he actually talked about a time in our calendar where we consciously choose so that we can take a break. We can actually, that mean, it was like, it was planned and scheduled in there. What date that is or what month that is.
I do remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Something to the extent of decide, if I remember correctly, I believe it was September, deciding to intentionally not hold a second meeting in September to allow for a longer break period where we could schedule vacations. And there was one other time, it's springtime. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember the context of it, which was if we can intentionally decide to drop a council meeting or two throughout the year, knowing that that will be an extended time where we won't be here, hoping council members would try and schedule their vacations then. For me, it doesn't, we still have leniency, even if council meetings happen to fall when we're out of town and can't attend. I forget if it's 2 or 3 or 4 absences that were allowed. So it's not one of those that I would expect it to interfere with our current council or any other councils in the future to such an extent that we wouldn't still be covered under our allowable absences if we can't attend.
Yeah, the difference is by being able to remote, you do not lose the ability to cast a vote. And that's the difference. And to try to get 6 people or 7 in the future to agree on when this block is. I mean, I remember the conversation with Val, and it was an interesting thing. I know that the national level Congress comes into session, they go out of session, but we're volunteers and trying to coordinate which month we all agree, we all take our vacation. It doesn't factor in individual family requirements or individual hobbies, or things like that. So that's why I was wanting one vacation, basically one session is what you're allowed to remotely call in. That's what I was asking for. It's just, but limited, because the purpose is we're here face to face. So I do want all others to be here, but to give us one flexible time where we declare this is our vacation remote call in.
And it seems like too, if I remember right, that we always have the opportunity, if there's not business that needs to be attended to, particularly when it comes to land use or planning items that are often on a schedule that require us to be available to address them and meet to have those cases come before us, that if we have a light agenda coming up, that we could have the conversation in a meeting and vote to not have the next meeting. I think that's how we've always handled it. Now, whether or not that is in context with the conversation you guys are referring to, I don't know. Because we do that for the second meeting at Christmas and have for years and years and years. We have met, wasn't it last year when we were doing
Twice.
budget? That we've actually had our second meeting in December.
Yeah.
But we do always have that option of looking at our schedule with the staff and making sure that nothing is we're not being remiss and taking a vacation, if you will, from a meeting. I hear what you're saying, Rusty, as well. And it seems like things are changing a little bit. We learned through the pandemic and shutdown that there is an option that's very viable with the Zoom application, because it puts us here physically and we can interact and have a conversation, be seen by the public, and be as close to being here as we without being here. And I guess I don't really have an issue with that opportunity to have a one vacation to have a remote participation. And if we limit it to that, then it being abused would not be there. The ability
Correct.
to
That- and
use
that's
it would
why
not
I
be
added
there.
the limitation thought.
So that's just my thought.
I've searched the policy and procedures. I think that was a conversation with the late Mayor Carp, but it was never codified
Okay.
in here.
Okay.
But what I would
It
like
was.
to read to the council in your policy, it talks about, in the event a council member is absent for 3 regular meetings in a 2-year term, any absence thereafter shall be considered unexcused unless the city council has previously approved the extended absences. So there it allows for 3. And then it talks about if a member accrues more than 3 unexcused absences within a 2-year term, may subject a council member to disciplinary action by majority vote, blah, 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 blah. So that's where your 3 councils are, your council meetings are excused and then unexcused.
But remembering that conversation, that was for being able to maintain your seat on council, which is why that is still a valid rule that we have. This is simply to participate remotely. And when we were discussing that, that was all pre-pandemic. We had never thought we would be using Zoom at the level that we were forced to for quite some time.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So that's the purpose of this, is to give council the flexibility that if you're sick or the road's closed or what have you, you're able to participate by Zoom. And if you are on vacation, you can get a hall pass.
A hall pass one time.
Once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd vote twice, but.
Well, I
once.
actually voted twice. My note was once or twice per calendar year, but.
Oh, yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
1 or 2 per year.
Well, what does the council think? Is, I didn't want to even offer up the second one because I was offering up 1, so I was feeling
Right.
guilty
Yeah.
because a lot of people take 2-week vacations.
Yeah.
Now, usually that means you would only miss one
One council.
council meeting. That's why I had, was kind of limiting it to missing 1, but some
I
people
guess
have
the
4.
only instance where that might be an exception is if we were to have something come before us that required a special meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
That is true.
And then maybe the council could address that at the beginning of the meeting to
Yes.
allow you to participate because it was unforeseen.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, and we can make exceptions as well. Council by majority
long as we
can,
agree.
you know, if Rusty's on vacation for 3 months and wants to participate by Zoom for, you know,
I
both
wish.
council
If
sessions.
he's on
what have you.
vacation for 3, that's a definite no.
Don't put it in Chelsea. So, but there can be exceptions made also. Yeah. So, yeah.
I have 2 points.
Sure.
This is under the second paragraph, meeting requirements concerning remote participation. Number 3, at least 1 member of the city council is present at the meeting location. I'm not, my take on it is, do we really need that in there? Because we did operate for, many, many months without anyone here. Now, it's hard to say if a pandemic is going to be the same situation in which we're going to have to meet remotely. I think there were 2 of us that were more than happy to show up on the dais and be the council member here. But I don't know, is there a legal reason that needs to be in there?
The location of your meetings, I believe, is City Hall. And if you think about it, that would mean the public would come here and none of you would be here. It's just, but you guys could change it if you want, but
During the pandemic, we notified the public that.
the location was Zoom.
Right, they could not enter City Hall actually.
But if it's not a pandemic, your location of your meetings is here.
Yes.
And then it's, think of the public here and nobody's sitting here. But again, that's, for you guys could to make that decision.
Well, I can tell you from experience, I was the only council member here during that a lot. And there were people here and I'm thinking, come on, you guys, come back in. There's all these
Yeah.
people here. So I think it should be at least 1, but
Yeah.
I'm just glad that we don't have anything in this thing that references the China virus, because to me, that's just so old. So, yeah, I'm glad we're past that.
Yeah, and I'm listening to you, Stephanie, because you and Robert were the 2
Mhm.
that were coming in here. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. You say to remove it, Robert would kind of like to
I
leave it.
I guess I was just questioning because there was plenty of council meetings that were conducted entirely remotely with no one in the
Yeah.
meeting location whatsoever. And just kind of thinking of the unforeseen hypotheticals that could happen where no one is actually able to be here physically in person. We just don't know what could come up, that this then ties us into getting someone here.
Or
So
having to
we
cancel the
notice it.
meeting.
Yeah.
We notice it.
Yeah, and I think I have to separate the vacation scenario versus the other three, which are declared emergencies, which
Mhm.
means maybe none of us could. So maybe it is wise to remove that one requirement, even though you're right. It's nice to have somebody here in person to greet them.
It's
Well, I-
not nice. It's courage. We are the people's representatives. And if it's an emergency, somebody's got to have the balls to come here and sit here. Excuse me. I mean, I don't,
Well, yeah.
sorry, that's
If,
like,
if it's a
come on. I mean, the city staff, I can tell you, and I'm not breaking any confidences, had a raised eye. Where's council?
So
Where's council? It's like, I think it's important that we take our job seriously. I don't want to give ourselves a bunch of loopholes so we don't have to show up. And I don't
that's
think
what
that
this
I have a
is.
problem
either.
with being one or however many.
let me give a very realistic hypothetical that
Yeah.
is not politicized.
Yeah.
If we have another wildfire and the city of Woodland Park is on mandatory evacuation, none of us can show up here to have a meeting if we're on mandatory evacuation.
Right.
We would all have to meet via remotely from wherever it is we're staying at. So that's,
Compelling argument.
And,
Okay,
and
compelling
then
argument.
the city clerk and
Mm.
staff would notice to the public, since we cannot meet at City Hall, we'll be meeting via Zoom. And she can note, or whomever can notice that. And we can adjust in those circumstances that we need to. And we can always amend these by a vote of the council. So I think this is just trying to cover as much as we can and be as responsible as we can, understanding that we can make adjustments as we need to, determined
So-
by circumstances.
So under Stephanie's concern, perhaps we can put one council member in chambers unless extenuating circumstances.
there you go.
exist.
absolutely, perfect.
Or
So-
emergency,
So
or
I do
emer-
like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
or emergency.
Is that okay, Suzanne?
So what you would like it to read is at least one member of the city council is present in council chambers?
Yes.
Well,
The way that it's written.
yeah, at the
Just
meeting
leave it-
location,
Leave it like that.
you know,
Yeah.
pending extenuating circumstances.
Pending extenuating circumstances.
That gives us a little wiggle
Which is
room.
what caused us to make our change when
Mhm.
we went remote. So,
Right.
yeah. So this is just putting us back,
This is-
setting us back into,
If we have another pandemic.
well, no,
We're
this is
not
putting
having
us
another
back towards
pandemic.
where we
Not if I
were
have anything
before.
to
we
do.
did.
Just
Yes,
kidding.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yes,
Yes,
Bobo.
yes, yes.
Can't do it again.
All right.
So I do have one more
Sure.
that I'd like to mention. Number 5 in that same paragraph. Telephonic or electronic participation should only occur using a telephonic or electronic platform approved by the city. So if I can be okay with it, I just want to clarify what that actually means. Is it that it has to be conducted on city equipment, city laptops, city tablets, or is it just the ways in which we have approved being able to conduct a remote meeting via Zoom? Just
The-
for clarification.
Yeah, the
what that
latter,
means.
because we want to make sure that, you know, again, the preference that the public sees you, hears you, and it's important for quasi judicial hearings that you all hear each other, you're able to speak to each other. So we want to make sure it's something that you have approved in the sense that it's working, that all those things
Okay.
line up.
So that we can still use our own personal
Yes, of course.
technology.
Yes, of course.
We're not required to have city
No.
issued equipment. Okay, thank
Stephanie, the IT in me, when I read that, I was flipping out going, oh God, this is horrible language. You know, what does platform mean?
That means I'm starting to think like you.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always clarify that section if you would want. No.
Yeah. Is there language clarification you'd like to make?
No, I more just wanted to get the take of everybody else to see what the impression was, because the word platform, telephonic or electronic platform, is kind of a little ambiguous. So it was just wanted to run that by and have it on the record for
Sure.
clarification that, we can use our own personal equipment. We're not going to be required to use city issued equipment
Right.
in order to participate in meetings remotely.
Right. Rusty, was there a language clarification? you
No, it's
wanted on
kind of
that?
the layman's understanding when you hear the word platform
Right.
versus an IT. A platform can have very specific connotations, which goes into what you were asking about. Is it my personal device? Is that the platform? It's
Yeah.
got to be a city issue. So I get
Yeah.
where you were going,
Thank you.
but the layman's interpretation is fine.
Sure. Okay. Any further questions, comments?
Could it just say, instead of approved, could it say the stated platform? Because the stated platform on our website is Zoom. Could it, then you're not putting.
That's fine.
Yeah. Is that better? Does that take out the,
Or electronic platform / application approved by the city. Because then it's regardless of the platform is the hardware device normally. It's the application and there's one approved application. It's the Zoom meeting that we have published.
So why don't you state that into the record
Okay,
better for Suzanne's?
Suzanne, it would be telephonic and electronic participation shall only occur using a telephonic or application approved by the city such as Zoom.
Would
Okay.
you like me to go over these before, just so I make sure I have everything? correct
Sure.
Before you make a motion or anything?
Yes.
So the first change is going to be to section little three. little letter threes, that you will contact, no, excuse me. It's to add the fourth bullet, which will be vacation one time per year being allowed, permissible. The next one would be under little 3C, that you would contact via phone the city clerk and or city manager regarding any, if you can't be here, regarding any unforeseen road closures. Number 3, let's see, would be, we will have at least under number little 2, number 3 would be at least one member of the city council is present at the meeting location pending extenuating circumstances. And then number 5, under that same subsection, will read telephonic or electronic participation shall only occur using a telephone or application approved by the city such as Zoom.
And
the
you
only
could
one
actually
that-
you could
the only-
delete telephone. Go ahead.
I don't
Finish your
think
thought.
pending is the right word.
The telephonic, you should be able to eliminate because it's regardless of whether it's a telephone, a laptop, a computer, it's the application, the authorized application, which is Zoom at this point in time.
And then you want pending removed.
It should be meeting location unless there are extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, that's better.
Pending means that it's happening.
Right. And then on my
They're
little,
expected to happen.
and then on my little one, can you do the road closures, sudden illness or family emergency?
Good
And
thing you read them back.
back to the one about vacation. We still have to attend on remotely.
Yes.
It's not like you can go on vacation. It's not. No, but the way you read it, if you could just read that again,
Sure. So you have me adding a number 4 under subsection little 1.
right?
Requirements for remote participation in meetings
Okay,
that you will have a vacation one time per year
okay,
that
fine.
you can do via Zoom.
Thanks.
Did I get it?
You got it.
You got it. Good. All right, so who's gonna make the motion?
Okay. I just gotta find it.
With amendments as discussed.
Yes.
As per,
With
as with,
revisions.
yes. Let's see, so I make a motion to approve resolution number 879 with the, with,
Read them all into the record now.
With revisions discussed this evening.
I'll second.
Clarified.
Labar,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Zulawaga,
Yes.
Alfieri,
Yes.
Case.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Right, we're going to move on to 10B. That's resolution number 880. And the presenter is Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem LaBarre. As council will recall, we discussed this the last council meeting when you were giving out assignments for council liaisons. So tonight I'm bringing forward a resolution. It's resolution number 880, series 2021. It's a resolution activating the council's advisory committee known as the Charter Review Committee, originally established in 2000 for the purpose of continued reviews of the city's home rule charter. Approving this will allow me to start advertising to the public and seeing who would be interested in participating on our charter review committee. And hopefully we can start reviewing the charter and any changes that council would like to see in September.
Mayor Pro Tem, are there criteria for those folks that participate on the review committee?
Yes, it's the same criteria that someone to be elected needs
Okay.
to be. 1-year residency, 18 years old, US citizen.
Thank
all of
you.
The same criteria.
And
Thank
then
you.
Do they need to live in the city limits then as
Yes,
well?
they do. We want them to be a citizen if they're going to be talking about our.
That's
charter.
what I thought, but I just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
And then if council will recall, the 3 council members that have decided to be on that committee, Councilmember Alfieri is going to be our council liaison. Councilmember Nakai and Councilmember Neal have all agreed to participate on that committee.
And I would just add, last time we had 4 citizens and 3
Yeah.
council members.
I think so.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
city manager, the attorney, and myself.
Yep.
Okay.
4 meetings.
So I
So-
have a question before we make a motion on this. Nina, is there a legal problem that we've already appointed the council liaisons to a committee that we don't have a resolution that is active or exists?
It's still mentioned in the charter, right?
Well, it's in the resolution, and what it says in the resolution is that 3 council members be named to the charter review committee.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to reappoint them now, rename them if that's the concern after this resolution is passed, but
That would satisfy my question. I don't know whether we can do that on,
After.
it's new, well, yeah, but it's new business, so.
It's not even something I believe that doesn't need to be voted on. It's a renaming. It just says.
Okay.
So we-
names.
Yeah, it's just consensus.
Activate it, then we name them.
I will make
That's
a
all my
motion.
question.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 880, series 2021, activating the council's advisory committee known as the Charter Review Committee as presented.
I'll second it.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Zulawaga,
Yes.
Alfieri,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Labar.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And for the record, can we add who would like to be?
I was going to say, now that it's
Certainly.
activated for the record, you want to go ahead and read that our liaison is going,
Sure. The council liaison will be Councilmember Alfieri, and the other 2 council members participating in the Charter Review Committee will be Councilmember Nakai and Councilmember Neal. Thank you.
I agree. with
and
that.
we have a consensus, I think.
Yes.
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 All good. Your
Okay.
turn.
Right, we're at reports. Okay, and I think the public announced most of the major events tonight, so
I won't reiterate them unless someone's desperate for me to. Okay. So I don't usually have a report, but I do want to clarify something for the public record. Two things, actually. One, this debate about whether or not an executive session was held illegally or inappropriately asked for. We had a council member ask for legal advice for a particular topic during a council session. At any time during a council session, a council member would like legal advice from their attorney, which is private, we can move into executive session. So Councilmember Zulawaga, when you asked for legal advice on the conflict, it wasn't a general question. It was, you wanted to know the legality of the conflict. So you were allowed to ask for an executive session and we were allowed to go into that. We didn't have general discussion of someone or something. You wanted a legal question addressed and you had the right to do that, and it was legal. So I want that on the record. I want it known that it was legal. It can be debated, questions can come back, what have you, but every council member has the right to be addressed by their attorney during a council meeting, and they have the right to ask for an executive session for that legal question. That's the first topic I want to address. The second one I'd like to address is the appointment of Councilmember Nakai. I have the right as the mayor to put something on the agenda without addressing you. I can address the city manager, the city clerk, or I can get a second to put something on the agenda where I don't have to. I felt that this issue that was an emerging issue for our council member Alfieri, who wanted to leave, but did not want a special election triggered because she felt like it was against her principle to cost the taxpayers $20,000. I had a solution for that. And I wanted to bring it as quickly as possible so that our council member Alfieri had the freedom to leave should she want to, without triggering something she didn't want. My job up here is not only to serve the citizens, but it is also to serve council. If any of you come to me with an emergent problem, a personal problem, any issue, my job up here is to help you as a fellow council member. My decision in asking council individually, not at some secret dinner, not all together in a group, not behind the scenes, but asking them individually if they were comfortable with that choice. And my exact question was, are you comfortable if we go to the person who had the second most votes behind Councilmember Alfieri? That's Catherine Nakai. If Nakai says no, I would recommend we move to Don DeZellem because the people had spoken. Council didn't speak on those choices. The public had spoken. They had voted for these people and had the opportunity to vet these people. Although they didn't win, they had a significant amount of votes in the community, far more votes than the five of us could bring. And I felt that that was appropriate. It is our legal right to appoint someone in that manner. It is my legal right to bring that to the agenda. It is then our legal right to discuss that in the public, and the decision is made by our votes. I may have mischaracterized the way I spoke, but I did know the direction it was going to go because I had spoken to each of you, including Catherine. But I did not speak to any of you, and I'm sure all of you can attest to this, in a group or behind closed doors with all of us together. I asked each one of you. I happened to ask each one of you on the dais the night that we knew Councilmember Alfieri was going to resign and possibly not take it back. Now, I may not have sequestered each of you. It is a possibility that one of you overheard me asking another council member, but that's not illegal either. Overhearing me say something to another council member is not illegal. It just is happenstance. But I did bring it to each of you because I thought it was the fastest, best solution. It was not a behind the scenes, dirty, illegal move by any means. And each one of us is allowed to call each other, email each other, text each other, and speak to one another about any decision we're going to talk about making up here.
It doesn't mean that the decision is made. Any one of you could have voted no. Any one of you could have disagreed with me. Robert disagreed with me. He had his vote. It was no. And it was in the public, and that is completely appropriate. And that is how the decisions up here finally actually get made, is we talk about it and then we vote. But oftentimes, just so the public understands, council members on every council in every town call each other one by one, and they talk about the agenda, and they talk about items that are coming, and they talk about issues that the public are talking about. We don't sequester ourselves from one another. We all speak to each other, some of us more often than others. And it is not illegal. It is how politics works. It is how business gets done. Oftentimes, there are city meetings, not this city, but other cities, that they just walk up and they vote because they already know, because they've all already spoken to each other. They don't have dialogue or debate. They just move to motion and vote. And it's not illegal. Is it the most transparent way to do it? No, because the most transparent way is to have discussion. I offered the dais for discussion. I opened it for comments and questions. Council chose not to have a long dialogue about this topic because it was a unique circumstance. And that is the truth. None of us wanted to spend the taxpayers' dollars because that's how we are. We're fiscally conservative, and we knew that there was an option. And it was an option that was 100 and some votes behind Councilmember Alfieri. So I feel like it's a really, really good perspective of the public's point of view that Catherine Nakai was appointed. Much better than us taking applications and the five of us trying to figure out what to do and then possibly not agreeing. And those are our own personal votes. Those aren't the votes of the public. Catherine Nakai's appointment was a vote of the public. And it wasn't hidden or behind the scenes or backdoored. And it's really rude to Councilmember Nakai because it puts her appointment in a really poor light, as if she is up here in a very negative, derogatory manner, and I don't appreciate it. She ran, she received votes, she represents the public. And if you didn't like it, all of you could have voted no, and I'm sure you would have. And you all would have told me you don't like my idea and to shove it. And I still wouldn't have had to. I still could have put it on the agenda. And that's the thing. Any one of us can put any idea we have on the agenda. Takes two of you. It doesn't take two of me. So I don't appreciate the derogatory comments, and I don't appreciate the undertones that we are some kind of backdoor, deceiving, lying council. This has been the best council I have sat with since I've been here in 3 years. All of you. I begged Councilmember Alfieri not to resign. We don't often agree. We're not always going to vote together, but she's professional and I appreciate her presence here. This is the best council I have sat with. And I don't appreciate people who are pissed at us for particular reasons because they're suddenly losing to come at us in a light that is inappropriate. They're going to, they have the right to, doesn't mean I appreciate it. But I want the public to understand we did nothing illegal or inappropriate. You may not like it, but it doesn't make it illegal. And it's fine for you to not like it, but it's not fine to accuse us of things that are untrue. I don't appreciate it. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Robert, even when you and I disagree, I appreciate your service because you're professional. Even in our disagreements, you're professional. And that's what matters, because we had a council previously who, when they disagreed, couldn't even be a professional about it. And I welcome you anytime to call me, have coffee with me, or talk to me. Each one of these council members speaks to me outside of council on a regular basis, so they know where I'm going, what I think of the agenda, and what my opinion is. We don't make a decision before we get here, but they know the direction I intend to go. I may know the direction they intend to go, and we may not even agree on it. But there's nothing wrong with being professionally prepared for a business meeting each and every time we sit here. I have always been prepared. I ask fellow council where they're going, what their thoughts are and opinions are, and I also ask staff. I always meet with staff every morning before I get here in the evening because I want to be educated and well-informed. And there is nothing wrong with all of us individually speaking to each other about any topic on the agenda. That is the purpose of politics and our position, is to conduct business for this city and to understand where each of us is coming from, because each of us has different constituents that we represent as well. So I just want to clarify that. I don't appreciate any of you being trashed. It isn't even about me. I don't like that any of you were put under the bus because I asked for something, and I asked for something from each of you individually. And it is my weight and it was my decision. And I still stand by it, and I think it's the right one that we made. So I appreciate each one of you and your service to this community, even when we disagree, and we can adamantly disagree and still be professional. So thank you. And I just wanted that said, because I want to clear the air with that.
Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you. I have nothing for council reports.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Labar for standing up for this council. I have to agree with her that this is a great group of folks, and I think we're doing quite well together and having great deliberation, which is exactly what needs to occur. And I thank you for that, and let's continue to do good things. Have a good evening.
Okay, I'll second Kelly and Hillary. Or sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Labar and Councilwoman Case. I actually do have one Main Street report. They obviously presented the sidewalk sale. Gail did tonight. There's also the fall downtown cleanup is set for September 17th. I don't have a set time yet, but if it goes with the last one, it's around 8 o'clock in the morning and it goes for about 3 hours. And that's all I have. Yes. It's a Friday.
And sadly, I do have 3 liaison reports, but before I go into that, I want to thank you for your comments defending us, and to let the public notice, there's been some comments about consistencies. I have already reached out to Don DeZellem and told him, you were number 3. If there was a scenario in which there was another appointment to be made for consistency reasons, be ready. So it's so that there's no transparency, hidden agenda violation. Don, you were number 3. Be ready if it ever happened. Okay. I have a Historical Preservation Committee report from the August 2nd, 2021 meeting. I'd like to first thank Carol Harvey. I learned that she had prepared and Sally, please, if I misstate, the city's representative on just about every board I'm on. So keep me honest. I want to thank her for preparing a $12,000 grant request to obtain funds from Cripple Creek Mining Company to help remove the asbestos from the Midland Terminal Depot so that further remodeling could be undertaken. We were notified that they have committed to give us 5,000 of the 12. So it may come back to the Woodland Park budget to discuss the remaining 7K. Oh, I'm sorry. So that was one important thing that came out of the historical committee. The second one is I wanted to let people know that Sally is preparing a separate grant request to DOLA through the Main Street Revitalization Program. And it was discussed that the opportunity be used to attempt to merge multiple fragmented efforts to improve Woodland Park's downtown district or Main Street district. So in a separate grant that Sally's going after for some additional funds, we thought it would be wise, and it has been proposed to the appropriate boards, that the DDA, City Council, Historical Preservation Committee, Main Street, and probably the Chamber of Commerce conduct a work group. Nothing's been scheduled yet. The DDA has been approached directly by myself, but we're trying to kind of fix one of the problems that keeps bubbling up. We don't have a real vision or direction. We've got a lot of great efforts, but they're fragmented. And those that sit on the different liaison positions see the fragmentation. We were thinking about maybe a group work session, so it's informal, to get a consensus on what we may do with the different bodies together. That ends my Historical Preservation Committee report. Downtown Development Authority conducted on August 3rd. One of the main things that I think everybody was looking forward to was Mike Williams coming in with his development presentation. That did not occur. He was absent. There were discussions around hiring a part-time admin assistant and a part-time executive director. Regarding the part-time admin assistant, it was approved that there should be an application advertisement method with a closing date. So those were voted on and established. So that'll be in announcements that the position is there. In terms of the executive director position, the vote was basically to table the hiring until a firm development project came forward, something that was a lot further down the road than where we are with the one known project. They did approve conducting a workshop for reviewing bylaws, financials, how TIF works, and whether the two members that are on the board that come from the same business, Park State Bank, will be allowed to have one or two votes. It's a legal question that we are hoping to address. So it was a topic that came up at the podium. We are seeking legal counsel on that. That workshop has been established. It's 7:30 to 9 a.m. August 17th in the City Hall. So that public notice will be put out for that. The second workshop was in fact requested by myself per my previous council report on the fragmentation. No date was established for that. We simply began discussing it. And the last thing I do want to point out is as the liaison to the CML, I did note an interesting bill that was signed into law by Governor Polis on July 6th that businesses and citizens should be aware of. It's Bill 21-1162. This bill institutes a fee on paper and single use plastic bags beginning in 2023 and the outright ban on plastic bags in 2024. So it was a very conscious decision by the governor to give us time to phase that in, but people need to start buying your dollar shopping bags for reuse. Plastic is going to start costing us money. And that's the end of my council reports. Thank you.
That's funny because during COVID, you'd go to Trader Joe's and they wouldn't allow you to use your recycle bag. So what will the governor do if there's another pandemic? It's like, geez. Yeah, so just finishing on thoughts on your report on the DDA. One is Mike Williams did not show. He noticed that he wouldn't be there. So there's a bit of, yeah, okay, good. And the second one is, I hear you're going to do a workshop with the DDA. I had asked for a workshop with council. Is that on your agenda? When I was a DDA in our minutes for reports, I requested that council have a workshop with DDA to dissolve some of the issues. I didn't hear you talk about that.
I think it is morphed. I think that.
Are we included? I didn't hear that. We're not included in that.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, just take it back to the board if you would.
No, if I left it off, that they were absolutely included. The city council was.
I didn't hear it at the discussion at the meeting, so maybe they would.
You're right. The city council was in the unscheduled second workshop that I had discussed. In the one for the 17th, it was not. So you're asking me to go back and request that we amend it so that they are formally invited.
That'd be great.
Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Bar, we should be notified that we are going to be formally invited to attend that workshop.
Did you mention the date? Or it's not, it's as yet to be determined.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so my first report is at Observation Council. I normally go out the back, I park out the back, but at a recent meeting, I walked out the front. Have any of you walked out the front of City Hall and seen how unpleasant it looks? The wood is rotting, the paint is peeling. Never mind, the color is awful. Oh, sorry. I'm just, yeah, so I'm wondering whether, and this is probably a question coming up at budget time. Do we have maintenance scheduled for City Hall? It's the pride of ownership, preserving our asset. Do we have any monies allocated for at least pressure wash paint and repaint and touch up, repair some of the stuff there? Or alternatively, what would it look like to do a modest, not extravagant, crazy, but a modest facelift so that at least it looks clean and appropriate? So I'm not one to want to spend money irresponsibly, but I have, next time, look in the daylight. I'm embarrassed that we have not maintained the front of our building, and I'm just suggesting maybe we can look at it either budgetarily or in maintenance schedule or something if it's necessary. And what's your appetite for doing something? What's your appetite look like? And I don't necessarily need an answer. I was just posing a question.
I'll just share an experience I recently had.
Yeah. Did you get hit
on
with
a-
something that
on a
fell off the
home.
building?
No, it wasn't that long ago that it was painted.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
wow.
It's facing south and it does take a lot of abuse with weather and sun.
Yeah.
So it does happen frequently, very quickly. But I went to purchase some paint and had color matched at Sherwin-Williams for a listing I had to touch up paint. And there are contractors that are painters that are traveling the state buying up paint because there is such a shortage of paint.
Oh.
So just know that,
Mm.
not to answer for Robert, but I mean, for Robert, you're Robert, Michael. But I just know that that was an experience that I had while I was in Sherwin-Williams, and they did not have any paint. And a lot of it had to do with their factory is in South Texas, where that huge freeze was, and everything was lost, and they're still playing catch up from all that paint being lost in South Texas. Just a story I should.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I hope what's not lost is that's a very subtle way of, Michael, as you're looking at the budget, I would ask you to consider,
So
how we
let
could
me
do that.
recommend, instead of in council reports, that the two of you perhaps get together and recommend it as an agenda item. So that, or meet with staff or meet with Michael and yeah.
Yeah, I'm just seeding an idea.
Yeah,
That's a great suggestion on how to handle it.
because then
for
we can
sure.
look at other maintenance
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be a budget request as well, but it's a topic that we can certainly, have further discussion on, and then staff can come prepared and have an answer for us. So,
I'll just add that, no, there is not current budget allocation to do that. I appreciate it. You probably will not have to twist my arm if you want to put that in the budget. But we can certainly discuss more. We did chat with Councilmember Zulawaga earlier this week about ways we might go about doing that. So we're happy to discuss it more, certainly. And so it starts with maybe a ballpark estimate, but also if council is interested at this level, perhaps a little bit of visioning and what kind of scope you all might envision in terms of, we had made the rather poor analogy. Do you want something modest and government utilitarian, but modern and clean, or would you like Versailles? So
Robert prefers
maybe somewhere in the
Versailles, for
middle.
sure.
So maybe some vision. We can have that conversation.
And I take it just from the basis of last year about this time, those of you who are here may recall, we had a report, I think it was from you, wasn't it, Kip, about the roof leak. And if we would prefer to spend $10,000 or $6,000, $8,000, whatever it was now, or face damage and more expense. So we opted to do that. And that's why I asked you, have you looked? I think we've got, it looks like deferred maintenance, maybe it's been painted recently, but to me, I saw rot as well. So, all right, that's number one. The next one, Woodland Park Community Church has sent a letter and they are inviting all to their 100-year 100 years in ministry in Woodland Park, community church that's been a vital part of the community and the county for a very long time. They're having a, let's see. They're having a celebration. We will have a day at Memorial Park open to the community. It will be Saturday, August 28th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We cordially invite you to join us. There will be food trucks with food for purchase, activities for children, and worship music for the last 100 years. Radiant Church at Henrietta was the original location for the community church, and I guess they've agreed to open their building for people to visit. So that's from a senior pastor, Kurt Greenstreet. So for those of you who are interested, that's August 28th from 10 to 3. Interesting what's going on, Rusty, because I'm seeing there's a real desire for different groups to start to work together. I was on PPACG we had a workshop this week. Sally was on it as well. And there is an amazing amount of money that can be appropriated to Main Street. But it has to be done in conjunction. So they need to work with DDA, need to work with the other groups. So this is just music to my ears to see that we've got groups and different boards within our community are starting to want to work together. So that's great. So, and Sally can make further comments. She knows more about it than I do, but there's millions of dollars. I mean, bunch. And now whether it's from COVID, I'm not clear. I think it is part of that whole, it's part of the save us from ourselves bailout from the government. But okay, so that's that one. Hillary, thank you for your explanation. I appreciate your point of view. I have a divergent point of view. And so to that note, I would like to read the following into the record, and Susanna will give you a copy of this later so that you will have it. Why did we have discussions about the BOA and to keep Woodland Park Beautiful appointments before this council tonight? The last 5 appointments before this council went straight to a vote without discussion. 4 positions on the DDA, 1 for city council. Can this body please explain why discussions were made outside of the public eye on the past 5 appointments, and now we've returned to open discussion tonight? It's my understanding that when council participates in a private hub and spoke and ABC meetings, these are a breach of open meeting laws and a violation of the sunshine laws of Colorado. I am concerned that should the city of Woodland Park get sued, we could be required to unwind all the decisions we have made since these appointments. Side discussions between council members seem to have been acceptable on major decisions for our city in both DDA board appointments and the appointment of the council member. But on a less contentious appointments, we pretend that discussions are important. If I'm in error, that discussion of these above stated appointments were made on the record, can the mayor pro tem or any of my colleagues here on the dais please reference the timestamp on our prior recorded meetings? Now, as for tonight's appointment, what makes these appointments different? If it isn't different, why did we deviate from public discussion on appointments of major import to our citizens? Thank you.
So I can actually address the DDA appointment issue. I did not have any prior discussion about who would be appointed, but as chair, at that meeting, I decided there would be no testimony by the appointees. And the reason I made that decision was because I was well aware historically of each character who was applying and their ability and oftentimes attempt to character assassinate. And I wasn't going to allow character assassination by any of the applicants towards one another or towards this council. And it was in the public at the dais where the decisions were voted upon and made. Council had the opportunity to have discussion amongst ourselves. I offered that, but I did not allow the applicants to speak.
I think that's not, that, I mean, that might be what you decided to do, but I don't think that's right. I think that we have so deviated from being open and transparent to the community that it is, I mean, I've put what I put on the record.
Sure.
The community is already asking these questions, and I appreciate your comments earlier in terms of explaining where your thinking was. But from my position, the oath that I took is an oath of transparency. It's an oath to uphold the Constitution, public debate, public discourse, as unpleasant as it may be from in the community on contentious issues, is still necessary. And we can't pretend that we are smarter, our authority allows us to not go through that process.
Sure.
So we just saw tonight how these people were, each one were interviewed. It was a healthy discussion.
Right.
Even if it's unhealthy, it's still required. And so I placed my questions there.
Sure.
You've made your
And
comments.
I totally appreciate
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. The burden that falls on me, though, is to lawfully uphold meetings that have professional decorum. And that's my job. And that is my choice as chair. And that was the choice I made. And that burden lies on me. So I appreciate your perspective and I do agree with you, but there are times where I have to make that call. It is not an easy call. That's why most of you don't want to sit in this chair either. I didn't ask to sit here. So, but it was the decision I made. And we have a particular person who, had they been a candidate for that board as well, I would have known what was coming and I would have attempted to control the decorum to the best of my ability. So that was the
as-
choice that I made and I appreciate your perspective and I
Yeah.
do agree with you and perhaps it was a mistake, but it's a mistake I'll have to live with.
Well, also, you keep saying that you discussed with all of us. You did not discuss this with me. If you think you said something to me, that's discussing it with me. That is not
I
discussing
didn't
it with me.
discuss the
We
DDA
did not
decision with
discuss.
anyone.
I'm talking about my colleague here. It's unfair. I mean, I would like to be able to, I do respect you as a person. I do not like the way that you were selected, not that you wouldn't have been the proper selection. We did not, in my opinion, go about it properly in the public eye. And that is a deep concern to me. It's a deep concern because I am required to uphold the interests of the community and I don't think we did. Now, I know you've got defense of how you did it, so I respect that, but I've said what I've said. So that's
Sure.
all I want to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Duly noted. Thank you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Nina, do you have a report?
No.
I do. Want to let Sally go first, though. Sally's got, she's going to talk about the comp plan and then functional street classifications for 3 hours.
No.
Yeah.
Very brief. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. First, a brief update on the comprehensive plan. The draft is now available for public review. It's on our website. If you all would like a copy, it's 110 pages. So the Planning Commission has begun to review the draft, few chapters at a time. They, on July 22nd, they reviewed economic development and tourism, sustainability, parks, trails, and open space. And thank you, Dawn, for representing your subcommittee. We invite the subcommittee chair and scribe to attend these work sessions at a minimum, but the rest of the committee, we'd love to have you there. The next meeting is next Thursday, August 12th, and the Planning Commission will be looking at water and wastewater, public safety, emergency management, and resiliency. So we're doing a great job getting through the 13 chapters that are in the comp plan, and then we'll follow up with the public hearing sometime probably in October, and then council's hearing as well. The consultants are also starting to work on the land use code review. This is primarily to put together a unified land use code that combines the zoning with the subdivision regulations and mobile home park standards, kind of sit out there on their own. So the code review is also begun with our consultants, and we'll set up a small task force with the Planning Commission to work on that as well. Any questions about the comprehensive plan process at this point? Okay,
I'd like a copy of the draft. Yeah.
okay, 2,
Yeah.
anybody else? Yes, Catherine's got hers. Okay. I'll put them in your box,
Thanks.
okay, tomorrow, not tonight.
Yeah, don't work overtime for it.
My second topic is from PPACG. We learned recently that our street classifications have not been updated. And so the PPACG staff has looked at that. There are federal requirements based on what percentage of your streets can be classified as minor collectors, major collectors, minor arterials, and principal arterials. So their GIS guy, Matt, has worked with us in public works and planning, and we have come up with our reclassifications. This is in order for us to be able to qualify for federal dollars. They have to receive a certain classification in order to be able to apply for the STP Metro dollars through PPACG. So this has been a great exercise. It will go through the Transportation Advisory Committee, TAC, this month, and then hit the Board of Directors agenda. So I just wanted you to be aware that those reclassifications have taken place. It's kind of an interesting process. Questions?
Did they use Google on the weekends to track the sub routes? Because they've said, because you can go on Google, if you're on 67 going up, or 24, I'm so going up, and traffic's all blocked up, you can push Google, it says faster route. And so that becomes the sub.
Okay. No, but now our roads are properly classified so we can qualify for funding.
All right, just a few brief updates. So Veterans Rally is coming up, boy, just in a few weeks here.
Yeah.
20th and 21st. The liquor license for the event has been approved. We're finalizing the last few details on the temporary use permit, kind of working out some language on that before it's finalized. We had a very, very successful cornhole tournament. Everybody knows what cornhole is? Yeah, I didn't for a long time. I'm from California. We don't. No. We don't. We're corn free in California. Call it
He
granola
just
hole.
watched Beavis and Butthead.
Granola
Oops,
hole.
that wasn't what it was.
So we had a tournament in the parking lot of the UPass Cultural Center. on the 31st on, I think that was Saturday, right? We had 23 teams participating. We had a team from out of town. I don't know if they're the ringer or not, but they won. They took home like a $700 prize or something like that. They want to come back. Don't blame them. The event recovered 264% of its costs and had $4,000 in sponsorships. So we liked it so much that we're going to do it again October 29th. We call it costume cornhole. So, dress crazy, dress like a cornhole bag or board. And maybe if you wanted to. Sure. Yeah, I think so. Cindy tells me costume cornhole, so I go with it. So next opportunity to get in, possibly win some money and have a lot of fun. Certainly, I think it'll be indoors at the Cultural Center, October 29th. The Mayor's Cup racing is August 14th. All ages are welcome, from little ones on up to, if you can still run, great. So if you want, come suck wind with me and with a lot of other people. We'll love to have you. So August 14th in the morning, I think we're doing stuff probably, I don't know what time it kicks off. Does anybody? I should know that. But early in the morning, we'll be done around 10. So you can still have the rest of your day there.
I can't wait to watch the rerun.
7:30.
It starts
14th
at-
is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday.
It's-
Citizens Academy.
Michael, I have the time for it.
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
It's 7:55 a.m. You can conduct warm-up stretches with Nicole. And then it starts though at 8 a.m. The half mile starts at 8 a.m. 50 yards is at 8:10, 100 yards is at 8:15, and that's for the kids fun run. And then the 5K says be there no later than 8:25 a.m. And the results are at 9:30, so y'all better run fast.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Citizens Academy, we're very, very excited to announce the Citizens Academy is back after going on hiatus for COVID in 2020. We will be launching that September 13th. We have a class size of 25. We have 11 spots left. So applications close on August 26th. We encourage people to come learn a lot about the city, make some new friends, kind of have a cool network of people. Ever since I've got here, I've just heard from people who've been through it, just great rave reviews. You can understand why we do what we do and why we come off as crazy as we do, but really understand that we are all about service here, and it's an eye-opening experience. We had one of these at my previous city and got similar reviews. So 11 spots left. Do it quickly. So, and just on a final kind of personal note, regarding the city attorney contract, just from staff's perspective solely, we've been very happy with Wilson Williams. They've treated us very well. They've been hugely responsive. I appreciate the two-headed monster approach that Jeff and Nina have provided. And so I've worked in city government for a long time and not had the level of responsiveness from my city attorney staff that I've had from these two. So I did want to put that out there. That was in the staff report, but I very much appreciate the work that they have done. And the staff has had a similar experience. So that's all I got. Very
So
mercifully.
we received an email, just a thing of note, is we received an email from the chamber today that the board has decided to cancel Oktoberfest this year. So just so folks might, if there's anybody out there, might know that that's the case.
That is correct. Yes.
And I'm so sad to hear that.
It's an interesting time to hold events right now, again, unfortunately, with COVID. So
Yeah. All
That's all
right,
I got.
this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.